Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for sticking around. Just saw David. He was doing some viewer games, and that was great. I always love when like someone from the chat like plays a game, gets commented on, gets some tips, gets to learn. And now we're gonna see some classical games.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's going to be a good. We had a Sunday night at the fights. It's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah. Hey, Summer, how's it going? I'm just getting set up here, making sure all the screens look normal. Yeah, we got some very cool games going on. Four games actually, quite a bit. We normally get like one or two, and now like yeah, we got four. I guess 90 plus 30 games going on. These are from the round robins in the dojo, um, and yeah, some. It's gonna be some big battles here. We got Eric Honer against Blazin Meaning Wave, and then Chaxis playing against Drew Tuck, and even another game. Hey Laurent, yeah, this was the this game comes from the Samish. We'll go back through. We got plenty of time. We'll go through all of the openings, but yeah, these guys played a line that's been theoretical for a while. Um,
Plus, we had our big theoretical battle of the winnower earlier,
right?
and we're going to have to talk about that too.
Yeah, we're gonna recap. I'm sure some of you guys are watching. I think yeah, Sombrero Laurent were watching the earlier battle, and Mitch he played a game, so he's doing a double header today.
It's like the traditional Sunday night. Sunday finish of a tournament, you got to play two games in one day.
Yeah, classic U.S. tradition.
And we got to recap all of the Chess Dojo news and all that other stuff going on. So that should be fun as well.
That's right. Yeah, a lot to cover. Well, yeah, Jesse, you're a French guy. You've been playing the French forever.
Uh
Um,
huh.
but what did you make of that position in the winnower? Like, which side do you feel like has the edge?
Very well. Okay, so I should give a little background information. For we haven't done it in a while, but we were doing these training seminars in the warrior group, so people around 1800 to 21, 2200. And Bubba, who is also known as Sam Hamilton, played a couple games with the winnower with Queen A5, Queen A4, and more backstory. Me and Kostya and other people have a big fight about how much openings matter. If you wanted to make the case that openings matter, then I think you would want to look at the way Bubba is playing this winnower thing. He has a very deep understanding of it. It's a position that's hard to understand. The computer doesn't necessarily understand it right away. I definitely didn't understand it. So let me just say I had this thing where, I didn't believe in the black position. I never have. I've never believed that black should give up the dark square bishop in the French. That's why there's really just two types of French players. There's players who play the winnower, and then classicists who play the Steinitz with knight m6. They really are two different types of people. And I can talk more about that. But in any case, so I didn't believe in the black position, and we sparred a little bit, me and Sam, just during class, and I was just trying out different ideas, trying to whack the guy over the head, and he defended beautifully every single time. And so I think that's how we ended up in a situation where, at least partly with my encouragement, I'm like, you guys, we should have a battle of the French winnower with Queen A5, Queen A4. And so far, I'm correct. Dude is undefeated. No one has taken the guy down with Queen A5, Queen A4.
Uh, that's true. I mean, I guess yeah. Today was Todd's chance. Strong chess. I mean, he had the best kind of. He knew the position he was gonna get, and he had like all week to prepare, pretty much, for that exact line. And yeah, we can look at the game. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts on it. I think well, basically he forgot his prep because they sent me their stuff. Todd and Mitch, they prepped
Right.
together with Leela, and they found some
Uh-huh.
some ideas, and they sent me their file. So I was
Right.
checking that while they were playing just to see like, all right, where how deep is their knowledge going here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think both of them basically like, they kind of like forgot. They both went wrong before their file ended. It was pretty
Okay.
deep. I mean, it was like move 15, move 17. So it's like, okay, they forgot like some idea they were supposed to play, and then they
Right.
both kind of quickly went wrong and kind of ended up worse.
Well, and that's the thing is because when I heard about the match, I'm like, oh no, someone is going to do deep computer prep, and then it really is going to be all over for Bubba Tough. And then even with that advantage, Bubba still smoked them.
Yeah. And
Well,
he
that's pretty good.
he definitely surprised Bubba. Like Bubba was the first one thinking in the opening.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, it's just tough position. Like, yeah, Bubba is tough. Who would have guessed?
I want to clarify a little bit for Hosebud. So I did these things on the French, and the videos I did on the French on the facing his opening mostly were designed to combat the French on a psychological level. That doesn't mean I wanted to lose. I play the French myself, but I feel like as a French player, I could give the white players out there the keys to the psychological kingdom of the French player and to get at their soul a little bit. So not necessarily what the Leela engine would say or the Stockfish, but just some basic ideas. Also, hopefully, ideas not too hard to put in practice. To be easy and easily communicable.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I think I'm different than Kostya is for me, opening prep is most effective when it's not some file that I have to memorize like Todd was trying to do, but rather if someone can just break down a position, kind of explain it to me a little bit, and then send me on my way. Just give me the basics. Give me like a basic overview of what's happening. And so, anyways, that's what I tried to do in all the opening videos that I've done.
No, I totally agree with you, Jesse. You kind of want like a strategic blueprint, like what you're
Right,
doing.
right, right.
Yeah. No, I think that's some of the most powerful prep. Like when you have just some dangerous gambit or some attacking line, you just know like, okay, Queen E1, Queen H4, F5. Just kind of know all of your ideas. I think that stuff works all the way up to like GM level. It's like just like a
Well,
simple like but effective plan. It's just
I think it works at GM level.
well, I'm talking about stuff like even like really like systematic openings like a Grand Prix attack or
Mm-hmm.
Close Sicilian, that kind of thing. I feel like you can only go so far, but still it's so useful to just know the plan that you're playing for, the typical tactics you're trying to watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, Ghosty, can we take a look? Can we drop in on the Eric? Actually, you have it on the board there.
Yeah, I'm on
Eric.
Eric's game here. Exactly.
So he just made a decision that I'm not thrilled about. So let's go back to 10c3. And
Mhm.
black took seems correct. And I really don't like the move. This is something you might disagree with me on, but I really don't like the move B takes c3. Yeah. Not to say that white's lost or anything after B takes, but I really don't like it. I would much rather have him play D takes c3 so that the bishop on c1 has a clear agenda in the position.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, they both look kind of fine.
Okay, good. Good. I'm glad you said that because I think actually maybe it might be a litmus test position. Like D takes c3 just assures white of harmonious piece play. And B takes c3, you've got this moving castle situation, right? Where like, you're kind of clunky all those pawns don't quite know where they want to go. The bishop on c1 doesn't know where it wants to go. The bishop on d3, I guess, is going to have to move for the pawn on. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You know, I would expect like basically bishop c2 and try to play d4. Basically play like a Rui, you know, a4. The bishop can come to e3 while we play h3.
It's very hard to pull off. Like, none of those pieces are really making sense. Even if I give you all those moves, like bc, bishop c2, d4, I'm still not convinced about white's position. d5 at any point for black, followed by knight e4 is going to be hard to face.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like black should be fine. I don't know. Trying to. So we did have kind of weird opening here. So we had a Grand Prix.
Right.
Wait. So did you give Eric advice not to go for Blazen's Sveshnikov?
No. We've talked about this opening mostly because Eric plays the King's Indian, and I feel like the Grand Prix is a King's Indian on crack. And Eric is not studying a lot of openings, so we are just working at a very basic level. But I want to say, this stuff that he's pulling now, he got from my friend Gawain Jones's book on the Grand Prix. So he actually, not through me, got a lot of analysis. He got turned on to the Grand Prix by me, but then he got some analysis in this Gawain Jones book. And so it's possible that b takes c3 is in fact the Gawain Jones move. I don't know. I don't like it, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, like he spent 6 minutes on c3, so definitely wasn't totally sure about this one.
He was thinking about knight f6. Was knight f6 correct and everything? I knew he was going to play c3, and I've seen him play similar things before. He just played bishop c2. Yeah, so your impression about where his mind is headed is probably correct, of playing d4. I feel like, the rook's going to appear on the c file. I don't like it. That c4 square is weak.
Yeah, b5.
I'm not 100% on b5, actually.
Yeah, like maybe white just goes a4 here and immediately like asks this question.
On a4, though, he's going to play... Oh, yeah. That's and one nice tactic is b4, cb, knight e4, bishop e4, hitting the rook.
Oh, yeah.
But even there, I'm not sure about that, because you could... Yeah, something like that.
d5, right.
There's even d5. Who knows what's happening, right? Who knows?
Yeah, it's pretty unclear.
So a very interesting
b4.
game. I don't think b5 was the right move. I just want to say, like castles. We played castles, bishop c2. I just wanted that rook to go to c8. But okay, maybe it's totally fine.
You don't feel like black's bishop belongs on b7? I thought that looked really, really natural.
I just felt like white's position made so little sense to me. but now after b5, like, I should be able to find some way to make my rook make sense on a1 now. And if my rook makes sense, then I don't think I have to commit to anything with the pawns or the pieces. So, for example, here he could play, let's say, rook b1. If bishop b7, d3, and then aim for a4, and white's got a clunky position, but I don't think he's lost yet. You can tell I don't believe the white position. And maybe that's my problem. It was obviously my problem here, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I see a position where everything's kind of like defended. He can go bishop d2. He has moves to like improve his position without like really weakening much.
He went for it now with d4, just like give me everything.
Oh, well. d4 I understand. But I mean, like, isn't e5 kind of thing here for white? Like,
Well, let's say bishop b7,
yeah, we'll go just e5.
and then I assume knight e4 is the kid's Blazen's intention.
So knight e4.
I assume knight d5 is also playable, though. There's nothing wrong with knight d5.
Yeah.
Bishop b7 was played.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure e5 is correct. Because
Yeah.
you're giving away all those squares. So
Just
knight
wondering.
g3 comes into mind.
Right. That kind of makes sense.
In knight g3, like at least this position, maybe I can kind of understand what's going on with knight g3, because we can claim that we're just holding everything down and saying that the knight on f6 is poor, bishop, that all his minors are kind of sort of poor. And someday soon we're going to play f5.
Yeah. No, I mean, now I think, yeah, knight on g3 supports e5, f5. This is a sample line. We could look like rook c8, bishop d2.
Right.
Then black makes some move, but like e5 and f5 might be like white's next. You know, letting black play knight d5, knight takes c3, queen g4. Just going for it. Maybe it won't work out, but...
And right, I'm sure black has play. I still believe in black, very much so. Like in that position you have on the board, you could play d5, e5, knight e4. Definitely believe in that for white. You know, I think. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, take f5.
Are you threatening anything?
I feel like, I mean, white just wants to play like queen g4, rook a1.
Okay, good. No, I'm just asking. Like, but like black is going to play b4 now.
Yeah. e3 was possible too. Yeah.
It's a. Goes, you're telling me about this thing that you've got a box of people there's 4 names up there.
Well,
Tell me about that, but
these are the latest like actions that happen on Twitch, like if someone follows us or like subs, raids.
I love the GM Fabiano Marijuana. That's a pretty good one. I hope he's watching now. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it reminds me of that winning U.S. amateur team name, Legalize Caruana.
So, anyways, it looks like a tight game, and Blazin' Jason, he's got a very acceptable position, and I'd rather be black. The whole time, I'd rather be black there. Like I said, I'm suspicious of this. This I was about to say, let's call it. I'm going to call it an unwieldy pawn mass that white has. Is all a result of the decision that he made on move 11.
Yeah, this was a big one.
Yeah.
There's also knight c3 suggested in the chat.
Possible, yeah.
This is an active one. Again, with like bishop c2 and d4. This does kind of make sense if white can get the center in again. Then.
And the weird thing is, I kind of feel like I talked about this position with Eric, and it's one of these things that I think people have fundamental intuitions about. So his intuition is take back towards the center. A lot of players have that intuition, especially people who don't realize yet that pawns aren't people, right? If you don't, it takes a while until you understand that pawns aren't people. And you see it in this game, like if we play DC, all of our pieces make sense, and now they really don't. I have a game position. I don't feel like they make sense. But
it does feel like a kind of a wonky Grunfeld, I will say. It's like,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. How about we look at our featured matchup?
Let's do it.
We got Mitch going on here.
Yeah, Mitch playing against NM Mike Fellman. And Mitch still in his
Oh,
book, based on the time usage alone, I can tell, hasn't spent any
very
time.
interesting. Oh, I think this is going to be a great battle. Um, so how about, let me take it to an analysis board and then we can talk a little bit about these positions here.
Sure.
Um, yeah. This, I think, even in GM play, I think should be seen more often. So let me just backstep and say, when I was a kid, Bishop E3 was like the main move, and then people realized that C5 was a good pawn sacrifice, right? So black will get full play. But something that I've realized, just on a practical level, is that if you're white and you really study this position, I think you can get strong play.
Yeah.
And part of the thing to understand is black's problem isn't just that he's down a pawn, it's that he's got to deal with the knight d5 eventual landing. If that knight lands in an unpleasant way, it's not going to be easy. And if you play e6, well, then your bishop's cut as well. So I do believe fully that black is fine. I'm just saying, if you wanted to really go deep in this position and study it, you would be dangerous. So
Yeah, totally agree, 100%.
b6. B6, by the way. Okay, wait. No, I want to hear your story. You said that he had prepped this out, like he knew this was coming.
Yeah, Mitch sent me his file, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me talking about it because for the French show, he was like, "Here's my file, might be useful like for the stream if you want to discuss it." So I think it's all good. Yeah, he sent me his file and what he's prepped for this game. So he was expecting the Samish, and based on his notes, it seems like he was expecting this endgame. So maybe this is just the only thing that his opponent plays, which is kind of surprising because I feel like most Samish players nowadays are like not going towards the end game. They're playing like knight g2 or d5 or something else.
Right. And maybe where he tricked him was, at least the old move here for black was knight d7.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was the thing people did back in the day. And so b6 can't be bad.
Yeah, definitely b6 is like,
it's kind of I'm gonna guess it's a computery move.
Yeah, I'm looking at ChessBase. It's like kind of taken over as the main line. Like most of the recent games are with. There's still some knight d7, but it's like kind of mostly b6.
All right, so what we have to say to tell everybody is Mitch is our resident opening genius, right? And this is another example of it. He's got the latest theory, and the reason in pre-computer times that people wouldn't want to do this b6 bishop b7 is pretty obvious. It's that your bishop's hitting a rock over here on e4, right? So that's the obvious grief of the bishop, but you are at least getting out of the way. And I think one of the cool things about playing it this way is that at any point you can play e6, and so you don't have to worry about the knight dancing all over you on knight d5, right? Okay, big decision for white. Rook d1, and now knight d7. And I think basically Mitch is totally still in theory, man. Totally in theory.
Yeah, I have his file here. He's very much in book. Mike, though, probably not so, because he spent 18 minutes on rook d1, which is a move. So
yeah,
maybe he's choosing between different ideas. I'm sure he's played these positions many times before. And then black played knight d7, and now it seems like white has a couple moves. So according to Mitch, there's knight d5, knight f4, knight c1, all possible.
Right.
But the thing is, like, yeah, it's hard to remember all this stuff from black. So I imagine like Mitch's knowledge is going to run out before the file runs out.
Right. Well, yeah, and the good news is for black is that this is an accident waiting to happen. Like white could easily have an accident here. And this isn't like, yeah, and I just want to say it's just so annoying when you're playing like somebody who's oh man. Let's just say, actually, here's an interesting thing, Kostya. When you're playing somebody like Mitch, where they're just aggressively better in the opening than they are at the other phase of the game, do not do this. Don't do anything. Play A3 if you have to, buddy. But play something where they immediately have to think. Yeah, this is no bueno. This is not what Feldman or anybody wants.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like from White's point of view, I think if you're black in this position, then like 100%, like your opponent is up a pawn and they're like better prepared, like that's bad news. But if you're white, I don't know. I feel like people who play this line, they get the sense that black has long-term compensation, but if they play well, they should still be like okay. There's not like a ton of super forcing lines, but I mean, I agree with you in general that like it makes sense to not just play the same thing over and over again, because you will kind of run into this thing. And
no, I just meant against Mitch in particular, because if like you want to take that guy out, just get rid of his one advantage that he has. If you're playing some super GM, this is a great position to have, right? But that guy's going to be good in all, he's going to be, this would be great if you get this thing. But against Mitch, you just need to get a normal position and you're going to have great chances of winning. This is not a normal position. Mitch knows what he's doing here. Mitch has got a clue.
I think people just view the game differently. Some players, they just want to play their lines. Like they believe in their stuff, and like they don't really think too much about like needing to like play against the opponent. They're like, I just believe this is good, so I'm going to play this.
Well, those are the people that aren't going to make any progress, because you're not playing a position. You're playing against your opponent.
Well, that's a perspective.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's very interesting in the position. I guess I'm leaning towards knight c1, but it seems like almost anything's possible there for white.
Yeah, I think white has a lot of moves, and black's plan seems to be just knight d5, kind of playing for some weaknesses.
Yeah. Well, this every time Mitch plays, we learn something about the opening, right? Every time we're like, oh man. And I like it. I talking about conceptions, I feel like this is a simple conception for black, where he just got his bishop out of the way. He's not rushing the compensation. And by doing the bishop this way, then e6 can come whenever he wants it to come. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I think the bishop does sometimes go to a6 in these lines, from what I remember. But I actually honestly never felt like this was such a practical choice for black in general as a King's Indian player. But that might be like a regional thing. I don't know. I feel like there's always like a bunch of kids in the Bay Area who will prep these lines out real deep, like these endgame lines, and yeah, I don't think it's practical to go into that from black's point of view.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, right, because after bishop e3, there's so many different things that you can play, right?
Yeah. I'm a fan of actually just going b6 and then c5.
Oh.
Especially if I think they like the endgame.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Bishop e3. It's funny. It's like an old move that has to resurface, because all of the other weird stuff with bishop g5 and whatever, it was a little bit too artificial. I mean, it's still probably fine, but it doesn't feel right to be playing bishop g5. We called the game with Honer and Blaze and Jason. We got knight g3, rook c8 on the board.
Cool.
So that's kind of exciting. And Feldman, el ajedrista, he's thinking. And maybe we should take a quick look at some of these other battles here.
Yeah, we got two more games. I'm going to jump to the game between Tension Mask and Argos. I think these are two of the guys in the new round robins, we have like a warrior group and then a couple of like squire groups.
Cool.
And yeah, I think I feel like I've seen Tension Mask play before, but I don't know too much about either of these players. So we're just going into those blind. You got a Scandi, knight f6, knight c3, knight takes d5. Yeah, I don't love this opening for white because black just kind of gets to develop their queen without any real drawbacks. I feel like in this line, white should just go knight f3, d4, bishop e2, castle, and eventually just take some space with c4. I think white gets an edge.
And let's say the obvious thing, that the way that it happened in the game with knight takes d5, queen d5, then the Scandinavian queen is actually totally well placed and is a developed piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I would, black seems better.
Right.
And he gets all of the juice with castle's long.
He gets e5.
And he gets e5. But here's where it's about to get spicy, because after h3, if you take on f3, then that's no bueno.
Well, we have this on the board. Takes, queen g6.
That's what I mean. And then we got to believe in white, right?
I don't know, actually. I feel like it's not so simple.
That light square bishop, man. That thing's a beast. I didn't want to give that up.
Yeah, but black has play. Black has ed4.
Well, but at the most, what he's going to get a pawn. That's all he's getting.
Yeah, I mean, I like the bishops, but...
So, like, queen a4 is an obvious move. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Arthur Braden in the chat. Okay, Arthur says takes, queen g4, and de. Wins a pawn.
Also thought I'm really reluctant to take that silly looking knight on c6, but that is a very clean path. There's no question about that. It's a very clean path. Maybe black has enough play at the end of it though, because of the d file.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is not like totally obvious for me, but I do like white. I kind of like bishop e3 here, but it seems like you think white just has a million good moves.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me just posit something, okay? I think black was better. Let's go back to 8 after 8c3.
Right.
I'm going to say black must be better in that position, and that what happens the next couple moves is not what black wanted. That's what I'm gonna claim. So, for example, in this position, how about e5?
Right.
Immediately, right? Isn't that a great position for black after c3?
So e5. So what happens if knight e5?
Well, the first question is queen g2. That looks pretty good. Oh, that's check. Excuse me.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay. We'll take on e2. Yeah.
Right. Take. And just queen g2.
Or knight takes e5 after that. Either one.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that. Okay.
I guess I would prefer to take on e5 first. Yeah.
No, that looks great. Great for black. So then, maybe white goes bishop e3.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Right.
And again, lots of problems.
So CD bishop b4 check.
That's first thought. Yeah.
Yeah. We have knight d4. Then again, black just wins the pawn, I think. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think. I mean, queen h5 is thematic, but.
Well, let's say it's thematic when you get hit. He wasn't hit though. That's the whole thing about this opening is the guy took on d5, giving your queen that beautiful centralized square. And in the other variations, where the knights are still on the board, a lot of times your queen goes to h5.
Okay, how about d takes e5 after your 8 e5?
Yeah, good question. I was assuming that queen d1 was strong, but I wanted to do something like queen somewhere, like queen e4, let's say.
Right. My guess is that black didn't really think of this move as a threat unless his rook was directly against white's queen.
Huh. Okay.
Just like didn't register as like you're putting pressure on the d file.
Right.
But this looks really, really annoying. I mean, you have to have a little bit of faith here as black that you're not losing a pawn, but I think once you look at it for a little bit, it's hard not to believe in black's position here.
Right. So anyways, yeah, the game, it looks like things have gone wrong for dude. Oh, but it's getting weirder and weirder. You've got bishop h5. It does not feel right to play bishop h5.
But it's not. It's honestly not stupid. I feel like because queen f5, queen e6. These are awkward squares for the queen.
Okay, I get where you're coming from. And I guess where I really reject it is I think he's trying to say that he wants to win the f-pawn, and it's queen f6 was just played. Right. Now, queen f6, there's an obvious question about queen f6. It's natural, but what is black going to do on queen g4 followed by bishop g5?
Yeah. I think bishop h5, I think this might have been just like a concrete shot. Because like if black doesn't go queen f6, then maybe white is just taking f7.
What if I just play queen e6 or something? What are you doing?
Well, queen e6, black has to worry about like d5, bishop g4. I'm not saying anything works, but like it's not the...
Okay. But even queen d6, I'm like, even if I give you that pawn, do you really want to be wandering around there?
Right. yeah, it's not... This isn't so obvious that... Right. Black isn't just getting active. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. But it worked. Queen f6 induced. Black, has to hold on to the pawn, and now queen g4, I mean, he has to go... Rook d7 looks very... very difficult. I don't know. Queen e6 looks like a really bad endgame.
Nota bene on queen e6, bishop takes f7 is a move.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if it is. Even now, I'm not sure black is that bad. Because the bishop on h5 after queen g4 is getting jammed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it yet.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Chaxis. Get an update.
Come back to this one. Right.
Yeah,
we got
come back.
Chaxis versus Drew Tuck. Both of these guys have been on our show before. And it's a Petrov. Bishop d3.
Oh man, this is also kind of theoretical stuff.
Huh.
This is pretty exciting. They're playing some stuff, man. Some real stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely not familiar with this line. Rook e1, and then black just castles. I mean, he did this relatively quickly, and then white took the pawn.
I think it's all theory. I'm pretty sure, actually.
Wow.
And it makes sense that after rook e4, bishop f5, that black can believe he's got compensation.
Yeah, it feels like Marshall style.
A little bit, yeah. And black has been playing quickly, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. But bishop f4 on move 13 is the first move that kind of raises my eyebrow a little bit.
Yeah.
because you're inviting knight d5.
Right, kind of walks into this tactic, which we see in this game.
Now, it's not an easy position for white, I guess. I mean, what would be going on after, like, yeah, there's all kinds of weird questions going on. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, bishop f4, rook e2 is weird to me. And they've got this final position that I guess I'm going to say I believe in black, but it's pretty spicy. Yeah. And Drew Tuck finally has this. Maybe this is his first real decision that he's going to have to make. But I, by the way, read just, my own personal study. I've been reading this book. I'm going to be done with it soon, probably do a book review on Dojo of Saruwan playing, all the world champions called chess duels. And he has a couple games with opposite color bishops. And one of them, this is mildly similar to, is also a Petrov against Karpov. He had a couple actually opposite color bishops, and he had one against Smyslov as well. Anyways, that just came to mind because it was also a Petrov. And definitely, like, black's big question in this move is how does he try to take over on the light squares? And there's many moves, I think, many moves that black could play here. Consider.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, clearly black just has pretty much just like long-term compensation.
Yeah.
Especially I feel like when black gets f6 in, just really hampers all of white's pieces. But yeah, I gotta feel like I would want to take black here if I had to choose.
At the same time, I'm sure both sides will make many mistakes going forward. Yeah, of
course.
this particular decision, I don't think is easy for black.
Right. So, do you think c4 is a threat here for white?
Can be, yeah. So, for example, that introduces, like, do we play b5 right now?
Right.
Maybe. So you got b5 is a move, f6 is a move, some kind of queen e4 thing is a move.
Yeah.
Knight c3 is a move.
Right.
Yeah. So I think he should take his time on this one. I believe, like we said, I believe in black, but there's all kinds of things.
Yeah, I would even consider like rook d8 here, just to like really force white to think about c4.
I definitely think I'm gonna play it if I can. I'm gonna play c4.
Yeah, Dora, I agree. Problem with b5 would be a4. Like, it just makes it easy for white. You just play a4.
No, but on b5, a4, white has to at least worry about knight c3, knight takes a4.
That's true. Yeah, we're kind of...
Knight is kind of bouncing all around there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to watch out for this one.
The one thing I think I kind of sort of understand is that if f6, c4, white should be okay.
Yeah.
Because knight c3, queen b3 or whatever, there's nothing too special.
Right. Okay, so something for Drew to think about. Let's go around the horn. All right, we got updates with Mitch.
Let's do it. Oh, things have happened.
All right, last we saw was knight d7, so Mike went for another tank here, 25 minutes, played knight d5. 10 seconds for black to respond, knight de5.
So clearly some prep. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think this was the move. I'll check against his file.
And let's say the obvious. I mean, Mike was probably calculating e6 instead of knight de5. But knight c3 is pretty normal looking after knight d5. He's got to play e6 anyway.
Yeah, then we get e6. I mean, this might be known. Like, there's quite a few games here gone down this path, like the high level. knight e7, knight takes e7, bishop takes e7.
Wow, and he just blitzed out f5. The guy's a maniac, man. The guy's an openings maniac.
Oh, he played it. Well, he didn't blitz f5. So his file actually says rook dc8 on move 16 instead of rook takes d1.
Hmm.
And I would imagine this is right because I mean the analysis continues a bit, and yeah, that seems to be the main move.
Okay.
So I think like, you know, I mean this is just like one line of like 10 different lines, right, that he had to look at. So I feel like his knowledge probably ran out somewhere here, and rook takes
Well,
d1.
I feel like maybe that's the case, but I'm sure he saw this f5 idea in other lines.
True.
And
Yeah.
I gotta say, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
This might also be okay for black. I mean, optically, first glance, like definitely looks like black is getting some juice, as we'd say.
Right.
Okay, coming. Mm-hmm.
And you know, the whole controversy of black setup has been the bishop on b7, and so we can now wonder about the bishop takes f3. You're just opening up the bishop a little bit more. If you open up in any way, it's going to help the thing out.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing we should mention is that the dream for white has got to be something like, I want to keep will my king be a powerful piece, or will it simply be someone who is hunted? Right? Will this piece be hunted? And at the moment, it looks like it's going to be hunted. It's going to be very hard. White needs to dig deep here now to not just have things fall apart.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I never liked this position for white either, you know?
Mm-hmm.
As someone who played like the Samish and the King's Indian but didn't want to touch this position. It's like, just, yeah, sometimes this happens, and computer might give white an edge, but it's really tough to find it.
For example, like if you don't take on f5 in this position, well, then the bishop's just coming to life after fe.
Yeah.
Right? And if you do take on f5, I assume we're playing ef.
Right.
And then your king on e1 needs to figure his life out because rook e1 is coming. Yeah, totally brutal. Totally brutal lifestyle over here. In fact, I think there's all kinds of tactics now. They're just like starting to hit me in the face. Watch, meet me in the back cave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's meet in the back cave and we can talk about it a little bit, because this is really like the tactics that I'm seeing that white can fall into now are just really hard to deal with. So for example, let's imagine you try to play ef, and then get out of dodge.
King d2.
Whoa. Doesn't look. You got to get out of. We can try other things. I'm just showing an example, right? So let's say rook e8, and if you go bishop a3, then I'm pretty sure I've got snip, snop, and slap, followed by rook d8. No, not true, because of bishop d3. See, I got one thing wrong already.
Okay.
my thought was like, here, look at this move. Bam, bishop f3.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of tactics in the position that are just like hanging. But yeah, king d2 was strange. I thought like king f2 for sure, just with this pawn on f3.
Try king f2. And I'm worried about some kind of knight g4 or bishop d4 just slapping me. That's the thing. So let's say rook e8. Where do you want to put that bishop? It's hard.
Yeah. Okay, let me try. Yeah, I'm just going to be full. I want everything. Bishop b4.
It's close to disaster here, isn't it? It's real close. Like I'm trying to make knight g4 work, but I guess it's not working. Let's just look. I guess I don't see it working yet, but I'm just saying it's like it's real close with those bishops.
Yeah, this is close.
But okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
I like your king f2. So let's try this again. King f2.
Yeah, how about rook d8 there after this one?
Okay, I was assuming you wanted bishop e2.
Right. But then there's always knight d3.
Okay, but then my king is a hero because then I get to play king e2 after that.
Yeah, that's true. That might run out. Yeah, bishop e2.
Man, oh man. Poor Feldman, man. This is like, yeah, he's just having to face this.
Right. Rook e8 makes sense. Bishop b4.
I think you're right. Bishop b4 though is the right square. I've got wait, let me ask an obvious question. So let's say after king f2 that I just play knight c6.
Yeah.
Where are you go? I guess g5, so you have bishop e3 after
Right. That makes sense. Thanks, such sweet thunder for subbing.
I don't know what, but rook e8 looks hard to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, you got this coming.
Bishop d4, obviously. At some point, knight b4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. This is some serious stuff.
So it's really dangerous. So this is what we got on the board, guys. We got f5. Yeah, other than ef, I mean, it's possible white has something, but it...
Door's suggesting f4. And maybe, I don't know, actually, I'm not exactly sure which position, but let's just say that if white ever plays f4, then the Kraken has been loosed on bishop b7.
Right.
And it's truly a bad business. Yeah. I love f5. So even though he might have lost what his file intended, I feel like this is a real rough decision here for white.
It's like a reasonable try, posing some problems. I think that's what it needs to do. Now he's got a big edge. He's got almost an hour.
Yeah. Oh, man. Someone else who has almost an hour is Blazin Jason against Eric Honer. And Blazin just played a cracker of a move here with
h5.
h5. And I don't know if I believe in h5, but it's really posing some interesting questions to white here. With the full Rubinstein idea of h4, h3, and like the bishops touching everybody. Oh man! All right, this is another beauty of the game. We got some good games to take. I want to ask you all kinds of other questions about life and chess, but no, right now we got to talk about these games. Meet me in the back cave with this one. And so when we left it, we were right around here with rook c8.
Yeah.
And bishop d2 was expected. Queen b6. King h1. And I just want to say, before we even look at h5, that I do believe very much in black's position here.
Right.
I don't like that bishop on c2. I don't like the unwieldiness of the pawn chain. Lots of things I don't like about it. Now, h5 is truly a move which is saying that he's ending us. right? He's just ending our poor, sweet little life. But I'm not sure about h5, Kostya. I don't know yet.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know either, to be honest. I mean, it's very double edged because, of course, it just like weakens the king side. I got the feeling that we figured like black should be okay with just kind of direct counterplay, b4, d5,
Exactly, right?
right, and just like keep everything solid on g6, and it takes white a lot of moves to get anything going. But with h5, he runs the risk of like hanging some kind of knight takes h5 somewhere.
Exactly, right.
And
So
as I
let's
just said
ask
that, like, yeah, e5, knight h5,
e5.
right? Like,
Exactly. So this, I think, is the real question for h5, this move. I'm going to check how long he thought about h5. Oh, he just played it instant. Blazing Jason's an angry man. He played that thing instantly.
he's an intuitive guy. He sees the bishops, he's king on h1, he sees knight on g3, h5.
Like, the problem with h5, though, is now white's pieces might make sense, because one thing Eric can do is he can mate people. The kid can mate people, and after e5, what are you doing?
So there's knight g4 could be a possibility,
All right,
and
let's think
knight
about
d5.
that.
Yeah,
So let's do knight g4, h3.
right.
And you need some kind of great move right now.
So h4 doesn't really cut it, right? Just queen g4 or something?
The least, yeah.
Hmm. I don't really see much. So. And then knight h6, then like. What is black doing? Yeah, like f5 and just everything opens up.
Or knight h6, we could, I'm pretty sure we could probably play knight h5 right there.
Yeah. D e5, I think we're just thinking fe5, and I didn't really see the follow-up for black.
Okay, well, this is interesting, because I was looking at this, and on fe5, I was thinking maybe black could get away with bishop e5.
Oh.
I don't know if that's true, but at least it was an idea. So that if takes knight f2,
Yeah.
maybe there's a little bit of something there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if that's true, though. In fact, probably after bishop e4, we can just resign. I don't know. I really don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really unclear. Okay, so yeah, I wasn't clear with the ideas, but that makes sense for sure. Yeah.
But also, on after de5, I think we can also just play hg, and I couldn't see enough compensation there.
Oh, this I didn't care about because black can take here, and then go knight g4.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I don't know. We can think about it, but yeah.
But the thing is, if you play d-e-f-e, that was already such a huge positional triumph for
right.
because the rook is now open on f1 and the bishop on d2
Yeah.
is open. And one thing me and the kid have really talked about is freeing the business. Like the idea of f4, whenever you do it, the dream of Federico is freeing this guy and the rook. That's the whole dream. Mm-hmm. Don't ever play f4 unless that's your dream, because that's the real deal right there.
Right.
Okay, he did. Let's see what he did. Yeah, he played e5.
5, bravo.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. This is going to be fun. I think Blazin has some kind of crazy idea, like right now. And if we wanted, maybe he could have said to himself, like, while white was thinking about king h1, that's when he decided on h5. So knight d5 was just played. And my gut instinct...
That was kind of expected, right? That the knight is going to d5, not some kind of fancy knight g4.
But what about knight h5? Isn't that kind of like a really sad day already?
It's dangerous, but I'm not totally convinced. Black, for example, has f5 maybe. Oh, but f5 would just take it.
No, because you have knight takes f6.
Yeah. No, I was thinking maybe we just take
I
with
would
the
just take
bishop.
f5. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
totally believe in white's position. You're
Yeah,
getting
so many
hammered.
pawns, right?
And yeah. I think I'm gonna guess rook f3's got to be pretty strong too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's not a happy day.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I lost the
Yeah,
game.
what have you done to us, buddy? What have you done?
I'm used to hitting that button to get to the live position, and then on the analysis board, it just clears the game.
All right, I'll fix it. I can fix it.
Oh no, I got it.
All right, so we got this. This thing is on the board, knight d5. I'm happy that the kid played e5, knight e5 quickly, and knight e5, and he's kind of bluffing Eric here a little bit. And one problem is, in addition to knight takes h5, which you would, if you did it, you'd have to do it on an intuitive level, right? There's no way to like calculate it out. But he's got so many other moves. He could, a very natural move that where I believe in white's position as well is just the simple knight e4. So you got knight h5, knight e4. I think a variety of just building moves. I don't even know what they are yet. It seems like there's gonna, and then of course there's the full violence of f5, which I don't think is. I don't understand f5 yet, but maybe it might. I'm sure it's crossing its mind.
No, f5 makes a lot of sense. Just take on g6, queen h5, and checkmate.
Well, okay, but it would go f5, knight takes c3, and then what do we do? Or
yeah, I mean, concretely, maybe it doesn't work out, but
no, maybe it does. Maybe it does. It's just a real pure mess, though.
Yeah. So, Hostbud, okay, asked the good question. Shoot, I did it again. Sorry, I have the
Oh,
game.
I got it. Oh, you got it.
No, it was still in my copy paste. So, he was asking, well, knight h5, but the problem is if we don't take, then white does have knight g7 as kind of an obvious follow-up. We don't just have to go back.
I do think he's right in asking the question, though, because my gut is that GH is just lost for black.
Right, no, absolutely. Like, knight c3 feels like black at least has some counterplay here.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but he has something, yeah. Let's try to take the thing on c3.
Yeah.
There might be more fancy moves, but let's take. And let's take this knight, this thing on g7. King g7, and then let's try to just lay waste to the kingdom with f5.
It's not super clear to me, just because I feel like black is a lot of, like, I feel like black's pieces are really active, actually. Like,
maybe there's even bishop g2, king g2, queen c6, and rook takes c2.
Easy, yeah. Or queen c6 first. Queen c6,
then I have rook f2.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, let's take it more seriously. That's knight h5. Knight takes c3. I really don't want to get so fancy that I'm playing moves like queen g4. So no, let's play bishop c3, rook c3, and then white. Let's take on g7. Right? And I believe in white, but it's okay. Yeah, it's maybe not. It's not like, and rook h8 could be in the offing or something like that.
Yeah,
There's
more
dreams.
I look at it, less I kind of believe.
All right, Coach, you're knocking me out here. So f5, what do you want to hit? Hit me with your best shot.
Okay, let's say we go.
You got a lot of moves, actually.
Yeah. let's say we go rook h8.
Oh, complete lack of respect. Look at that. Do you want to? Are you trying to be really fancy with like rook ch3 or something like that?
I mean, that's an idea, yeah. Like, it's pretty annoying threat. Yeah, we did have bishop takes g2 here, but
Bishop takes g2. Honestly, I didn't actually have some kind of amazing answer, so I have to admit that. Okay, let's. So we're saying that on knight takes h5, maybe knight takes c3. Hard to imagine a move besides bishop takes c3, right? Then the rook becomes active.
Can we try queen g4?
We can, but I okay. The concrete thing I didn't understand on queen g4 was if I just play gh, you got to play queen takes, I assume, and then something like knight e4.
Maybe queen f5 because of this knight e4.
Oh, okay, good. Gh, queen f5, good move. There's a lot of bummers here, though, for me. Like, if I just move the rook on f8, for example, it's not mate.
It's true.
So let me just say this. If the kid wants to consider queen g4, it's because he's already figured out the bishop c3 is truly not working for him.
Yeah.
This is a very tough position, actually. The kid's thinking about it right now. With do I take on knight takes h5? And it's very easy for us to just say, lop it off. But right, there's this whole labyrinth here.
Especially because he has other options like f5 and knight e4, just kind of keeping everything stable.
Right, and rook f3 looks weird, but it might be playable.
I think I'd have a hard time playing rook f3. You're right, but it's
It does some things. It does some stuff. Yes, but anyways, right. Rook f3, knight h5, knight e4, and f5, like we said, it's all kind of like on the table.
He's tanking. That's good.
Which move, just intuitively, do you believe?
I'm definitely still. I haven't given up on knight h5.
Right.
f5, I'm skeptical because of knight c3, and then I just feel like white is really slow in getting f takes g6 in there. Knight e2 feels like, it's super slow because I mean, like, okay, as soon as we go queen e1, black goes b4, and you're just getting there immediately. So I don't know. I feel like we got to keep looking here. Knight takes c3.
I've got an idea. How about this? Bishop takes c3, rook takes c3, and let's just say, how about we don't take immediately on g7, right? And play. Oh man, it's still really intense because the bishop g2 tactic is always available.
Right.
Oh, bishop g2 tactic is really annoying. Oh no, that's that's really difficult. Oh my God, this has all happened.
Whoa.
This has happened. We got knight takes c3 on the board. So
I don't think. Not sure white is necessarily like worse here. I was thinking maybe if we get this position, we can go like queen d2, rook f2, and like bishop b3, and feels like if we at least keep everything defended on g2, like we still have f5 kind of hanging in the air.
Good, right? Yeah, just intending to consolidate.
Right. So it wouldn't be, yeah, it wouldn't be playing for like huge edge anymore. But I think, let's see, Eric,
We're
he's,
still playing for mate though. Your idea is
yeah,
totally, and rook f2 instead of queen d2, also totally plausible.
right. But Eric's thinking on knight c3, and I really don't blame him because this position really feels like, sometimes you just gotta be brave and like,
Oh, he was already brave. He
oh
took on
yeah,
h5. He did take it. He already was brave. I'm really happy about how the kid's played. I don't like his b takes c3 move, but the fact that he reacted with violence on h5 after h5 definitely feels right.
yeah,
And Blaze and Jason, let me tell you, this kid is like, he's a puzzle rusher. He's also a 1 minute player. He's pretty good at end games too. It's like where he's not where he's had trouble actually in the dojo is when he gets outplayed by a positional stuff like Vishnu outplayed him really bad ones. So it's that kind of thing where he can get into a lot of trouble. But this stuff, this is his bread and butter. Yeah. I think I'm kind of leaning, by the way, to now playing, if we don't find anything else, just saying to ourselves, knight g7, king g7, rook f2.
right.
Now, maybe there's a cold shower too. Now, notice on knight g7, the knight isn't coming out anytime soon, right?
Yeah.
So what about bishop g2, king g2, queen c6? No, right? I can play d5, rook c2, king h1. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Whew. All right. This is a pretty good one. Yeah, knight takes h5. This is, and you know what? This is pretty, I thought, like, let's just say my intuition was definitely not to play b takes c3, but it's pretty high quality games we've got today coming out of the opening. Like, that was a very topical line, as well as the Mitch game is also a pretty topical line. Yeah. Holy moly, we got to go back to Mitch. Mitch did something unexpected.
He went GF.
Did it quickly.
Yeah, I thought about this as well because I feel like I've seen GF in these positions.
It doesn't make sense to me intuitively, though, I gotta say.
Yeah, in the present position, it feels like, right, the E-file just looked so nice. But I don't think it's crazy. He clearly had his mind made up. GF was like a pre-move.
Uh-huh.
And he's got an hour 30. Actually reminds me of, so yesterday, we haven't even talked about this. I covered that rapid tournament with Team USA. Right. So it was like Shanklin playing, Robson, Jeffrey Zhang, Fedoseev was there. And so Robson had a tough day. I think he lost like an important game in round 4 or something. And then in round 5, he won his game with like more time than he started with. It was like a G15 5-second increment. And it was like a 50 move game or something. He was just like so furious because the previous game he got caught within some like huge preparation and like couldn't handle it and like got into time trouble and like lost. Uh-huh. And the next game was just like furious. Here Mitch, he's
cruising, man.
He's sending a message right now.
He's sending a message. Don't mess with this guy. Yeah, got a bunch of stuff. Bo, I feel like you asked a question earlier, and I'm not sure what it was. Maybe you asked. Oh, didn't you talk about? Dora asked. Didn't you talk about that in your game, Jesse? And I'm not sure what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But then someone else said Josh Riddell always says take with a G pawn. Well, it's funny actually. That is in fact the intuition of every Russian schoolboy knows to take back with the G pawn. Of course, it looks better to take with the E pawn because we want to hunt the king. And so the problem with GF in my mind is that the white king is not going to be hunted in the same way Right. That's the problem I have with it, GF. So I'm not sure about and and poor Mike Feldman took forever to play EF, which is kind of, you know what? That's a great. I have a moment of truth here. He spent forever thinking about EF, wondering if he was going to get mated after Black plays EF5. Right? That's what he did. So he thought forever about this position, and then finally played EF, and then his opponent instantly plays GF. So the moral of the story is, if you have to take on F5, just frickin' do it, because he was going to be much worse if he didn't take on F5, right?
Yeah.
And now he has to deal with this whole new situation, and he is not doing well on time here. Not doing well on time. He's got 17 minutes left.
Yeah. So I'm thinking back. We saw one of Mike's games a couple weeks ago, and he was in a bit of time trouble that game as well. But he was more or less in control. He was like piece up and.
That was against Sully, my other student. He's playing all my students, and Sully played it. As my fear with Eric Honer is, like, he played a terrible positional game, and got outplayed against Mitch, and so. Yeah, that was the story, I feel like, of that game. Here he's in a survival situation here. I think GF probably came up in some of Mitch's other games. I don't believe in it. No.
Yeah.
Let's say I play Bishop E2, Costa. Let's just say I'm just going to make a natural move and see what happens.
Well, how about Knight G6?
Okay, good. Bishop G5.
Yeah. Like maybe Bishop D4.
Okay. Bishop E3. I don't actually no. I don't want to play Bishop E3. Yeah, I'll play Bishop E3. I don't know. Yeah. Rook D8, though, right?
I was thinking Rook D8, yeah.
Yeah, Rook D8. And for sure, Black still has compensation.
I like Bubba's suggestion here. F4.
Totally a thought, yeah. You're going to have to wonder about Bishop D3. That's the question mark about F4, but definitely a thought.
Yeah, Bishop D3, Knight E5.
But then my bishop's not getting trapped, right? So I could do anything with the bishop after that.
Well, I mean, if white plays Bishop D3 here, then black goes Knight E5 and.
But even if I had to,
back?
if I find truly nothing better, I could go back. I was thinking I could play Bishop E4. I could do other things too.
Oh, I see.
Because the pawn on F4 is hanging.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. I think it makes sense. Yeah, I think. I did it again. I think the idea is with GF to open up this G6 square in some lines, because I do feel like I have seen this. This motif before. In this endgame, of course, in the King's Indian, yeah, we see GF all over the place.
Right, and that's what I don't know. Hic et nunc, hic et nunc, here and now, 1972.
That's Laurent from
cool.
Warrior Group.
So there were great games. Oh man. Great games. We're hitting already in early time pressure too. Early time pressure.
Yeah. Well, let's check in with our Squire group.
Sure.
We got Chaxis versus Drew Tuck. These guys had this position after bishop takes a3, ba3, queen e7 was played. Okay. Going after that a-pawn. Knight h4, bishop d7, queen d3, rook e8, king f1, and then c5.
some kind of strange moves.
Yeah. To be honest, I feel like it just seems like the position is just like really easy for black to play. That even though I don't really like what black did, I still feel like their position is totally fine.
Yeah, and the king on f1 is very suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Very suspicious. And c5, probably a good move,
Yeah.
intending terrible consequences. Still, there's big questions like what is happening after c4. I'm not exactly sure. Total mess. Yeah.
Yeah. But feels tough for white. Yeah, it just seems like the king is awkward. Now he has like real back rank issues because he can't just go like h3 to fix his problem.
Okay, but what if I play c4?
Yeah.
Maybe knight f6 intending knight e4. I don't know.
Kind of get the feeling there's some tactics in the position.
Yeah, well, that's because you've been doing your puzzle grind.
I mean, I haven't been great to be honest, but I still get the feeling there's like bishop g4, there's knight f4.
c4, knight f4. I'm just going to go ahead and admit that I don't get it. Yeah, what's the idea of c4 knight? Oh, because of I get it now. The knight's hanging over there. But that was like, that's our terrible knight. I don't want you to take that thing.
Yeah. I thought maybe like, if we have some initiative there with the opposite color bishops, then we're good. But I don't quite see it. Oh, hey, we got a raid from Giraffe Chess.
All right, cool.
Welcome, Giraffe Chess. Thanks for the raid. We were just looking at some classical games here from some students in ChessDojo. Someone asked earlier, how do you become a student of ChessDojo? I mean, honestly, I just consider anyone who watches this stream and participates like a student. So these games come from a couple of tournaments that we do. We do some round robins for players that are interested in playing like 90 plus 30 time control training games. And we also have like a ladder tournament that gets featured here as well, where the games are typically like 45 plus 30. We'll be starting the next season of the ladder really soon. We're working out like some technical stuff, but that'll be starting up again really soon. I'm still looking for tactics. I feel like there's something in the position for black.
Yeah, I think knight f6 is a kind of a challenging move for white. And if d5 to play knight e4. There's nothing special, honestly, though. Just bring the knight back. It's not such a big thing.
Yeah.
We're getting our two main matchups. Oh man, they're good. They're good. We got to go back, but let's first look at the Scandinavian game.
Yeah. So we left this one off with queen f6. White played queen g4. Black went queen e6. They went for this endgame. D takes e5. Bishop e3. c5. Okay. b3. g6. Bishop e2.
So we're going to say white's clearly better.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, honestly, I feel like for me, the advantage gets bigger at like higher levels, but I feel like at lower levels, this is a tough one for white to really make like a lot out of.
Interesting. No, I think that you've schooled me basically on that point when we've bet about certain positions earlier. So I've been through this. Yeah, this one, C5 was a bad move because it opens up the light squares, especially. So right on a technical, I feel like black is actually strategically lost in this position. I'm gonna go that far. Because yeah, the bishops are just incredible here, and I don't know where the bishop on f8 is supposed to go. Yeah, that's it. This is a truly bad position over here.
Yeah, I thought c5 was a little strange. I would have like, I kind of get it. Like, I feel like the other pawn should go to b6, and bishop wants to go to g7. Whether black can get that in time is definitely a really big question.
Right, c5. Oh, and he actually just made the move bishop g7.
He just does it.
Whether it's right or wrong, at least it. Yeah, no, actually, I like that move a lot because forget the c5 pawn. Now, yeah, forget the c5 pawn. You gotta get your pieces active, buddy. And if I take on c5, there's promise of counterplay with moves like rook d2. So white has a choice now between bishop takes c5 and rook a d1. I think probably he's going to be much better on both of those moves, but still bishop g7 is the right decision. You gotta get rid of that, gotta get that guy moving.
Yeah, I like it in spirit, just playing for activity. Yeah. I think it gives black better chances, for sure. Question from Vishnu: are we interested in trading rooks here for white? Let's forget about the c pawn for a sec.
In general, I want to keep one rook on so that I can have the properties of a Fisher ending. But if we get everything traded off, that's also a really bad deal for black. I think the key thing for black to think about is establishing the knight in some place where it can really stick in our craw, if I can put it that way. So, for example, if you force me to play c4 and I land the knight on d4, well, then its position is totally changed.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's black's dream.
Right. Something, and it's going to be hard to prevent if, say, rook a d1, maybe just knight c6. And and if you win that pawn on c3, right, there's grief. There's grief in the castle.
Yeah, thinking the idea on bishop c5 maybe might be also knight d3.
Bishop e3 after that,
and then
or bishop a7. I don't know. A7.
Oh yeah, bishop a7 also.
That's because annoying. Bishop c3, I have rook ac1.
It's true. Yeah, you can just go for this, right? Yeah, maybe then rook d2 more likely. But I just like that he did it. I think that it's practical. And he spent like 25 minutes on bishop g7.
Right. No, that was the right move. Yeah, that's the right.
Okay.
We got to go back. Which one do you want to go? Let's go Eric. Yeah.
So my God, he played knight g3.
It got really exciting now too, and he kind of lets you. I'm going to say he's following, at least initially, your philosophy of trying to consolidate before smacking black. And there's real question. I have real questions about what's going on. All right, hold on. Let's meet up in the back cave here, because we got to figure this one out. The poor kid, Blaze and Jason, definitely move too fast in this game and everything, but he does. This time advantage has got to be gnawing on white. So snip. Okay, so here's the big decision point. Both of our intuitions was to snip on g7 because that's a strong defensive piece, right? So knight g3.
And for the tempo.
Rook c4. And I thought his initial intuition had to have been to play like knight e2 to consolidate stuff. But instead he said, no, I'm all in. And
Right.
let me just ask a first question, Kostya. What is going on after rook takes d4?
No, I think it it can't it can't possibly be good for white. I just think black is just too active, controls too many squares here. Two bishops are opened up. Like, okay, black has one piece on f8 that's like not participating, but I think black should be defending here. Yeah, I don't know. I think we probably thought knight e2 is just too slow, but I actually don't think it is. Like, you get bishop b3 next, and then you still get your e6 and your f5 and everything. Although here,
Yeah.
knight e2, there might be bishop g2, so maybe that's the problem.
Okay. Okay.
So might not be so easy for white to defend the d pawn.
So in that case, then the explanation of f5 was just like, well, now we have to do it, or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, he might just be forced. In which case, I think knight g3 was probably not right.
Didn't look right. And now Blazin took on queen takes d4,
Oh, makes sense.
which also, yeah, sure. And the whole thing is like, we gotta just mention is that now the bishop on g7 is coming out, both bishops, complete vengeance on the bishop.
Yeah.
Man, what a bummer.
Jason wants this endgame so bad. I just know he just like wants to play this position as black.
That's a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Now the kid could, obviously he could try to fight it out. Let's figure this out. So queen d4, and the kid's thinking about it. So we're down one pawn. Oh, this is terrible. This is really bad. How about, I've got an idea though. How about bishop b3? Can I do that?
Mm-hmm.
This is just my attempt to survive.
Yeah, I like it. Gotta trade.
Well, you could also play bishop e5, maybe. In any case, let's say trade. That's not so simple. I think Blazin might end up regretting not taking. The rook takes just seemed immediately like game over. I mean, maybe I missed something, but it just seemed game over to me. The rook takes. So here, bishop b3. It's at least annoying. I definitely still believe in black, for sure. But there's questions here.
Yeah, maybe bishop e5 then.
And I was thinking, let's just play fg.
Right.
Yeah, the rook isn't going anywhere. Maybe queen a1, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, queen a1, maybe I can play queen h5. Hello. Hello.
Maybe.
Yeah, I might really like queen h5. So this game might not be over.
Yeah, definitely not.
I think bishop. I don't see there might be some other thing. Well, let's just say this: the other variation, the first one you mentioned, is probably what went through Blazin's head. But bishop b3 is more annoying for black.
Definitely more annoying. Yeah. Maybe queen h4. Just go full Rubinstein.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's scary. Very scary. Oh man, what is happening here? So, check to the miserable king.
Yeah, I'm thinking take.
Queen h5. I
I don't know. Weird stuff.
Also hard to say, yeah. Well, okay, this is getting hot.
So, some chances for white.
Some chances for it. And let's just actually just confirm something for ourselves. So we go back to 21 f5. Rook takes d4. Are we missing anything? Like, was there anything? It just feels totally lost for white after rook takes d4. Like, where does the queen go?
Yeah. Well, like, you're right. Queen e2. I was thinking bishop takes e5.
Or de to bring the queen in, too. I mean, yeah, but that's
DE.
great.
Yeah, only, like, move for white is, like, FG and all these positions. And then, kind of feels like the two diagonals are so strong that maybe rook h4 or something.
Okay, but what's good about this is even though I very much believe in all this for black, this little variation gives us a sense at least of what Blazin was afraid of.
Yeah, I don't think, like, right, it feels really clear.
Okay, Eric has played FG after queen takes. Let's promote this variation. So queen takes, he played FG, which might end up having, I was going to say some similarities, but queen takes d1 certainly looks strong right now for black. Is that true? Oh, that might not be true. No, just bishop takes d1, and bishop b3 will return.
Bishop e5.
Bishop e5, right? And then gf.
Yeah. Yeah, king h8.
Oh, man, this is going to be a mess. Yeah, I don't know. You know, obviously rook b1. This game isn't over.
No, not by a long shot.
It might be. It might. I mean, rook h4 certainly looks strong. And then,
Right.
oh, man. So they have made some moves. Now, let's just say this. We say this every Sunday. But we got people moving too fast. And Blazin is just going way too fast. Queen takes d1 was played. Yeah. And I will say that I have seen Eric really play endgames very well. So
Bishop d1 on the board.
It should be a force, right? Force.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Mitch is thinking about it now.
I mean, there was gf7, but I think we both just don't like it because we still got to go. Like bishop takes d1, and then black can go rook f1, and
right. That was this was
just get out immediately. So yeah, bishop d1 feels forced. And
bishop e5, your move on the board.
Okay, bishop e5 played. So yeah, I didn't want the king on g7 here because I kind of want a rook h4 and then not have to worry about knight f5 check. So I feel like here king h8 would be the move, but.
So let me just say, after bishop b5, white has a choice between rook b1, gf7, and maybe bishop b3. I don't really want to play bishop b3, but
yeah, bishop e3. I feel like black just goes into exchanges.
Just trade it all off. Okay. So gf7. I thought, by the way, that you were going to play rook takes f7. I thought that was your original intention.
Definitely, yeah. I've been thinking about this one. But then white takes and.
Okay, but how about? Oh yeah. No, I take. Okay, king takes.
Right. So. Oh wait.
But then I just play yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So I got to do something sad like rook b1.
Oh, then black, yeah, should take. Yeah. I wasn't counting this right.
But let's say it's not over after rook b1. Like, I think the computer would tell you it's over, but there's still some technical grief here that black is going to have to figure out. Right?
I don't know. I think it's like one question left.
There's one question left. Yeah, that could be true.
Yeah, rook h4 makes sense. But rook h4 doesn't end the game. Knight f1.
It doesn't. Yeah, or bishop. Oh, yeah. Some other move too. Well, also on rook h4, I could try to be clever with bishop f3. No, yeah, bishop f3.
Well,
maybe more clever than I need to be, but yeah, that's an interesting.
Wait, black takes.
Takes, okay. Rook f1.
Take.
Rook f3. Oh, maybe rook f4.
Yeah.
Should be lost. Yeah. Good move. Rook f4 is a nice one.
I think we should go back to Mitch because his opponent.
All right, let's go back to Mitch.
His opponent is under 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back cape on this one because this one is our featured matchup, and I think it's coming down to the line, and Mitch needs to now use his time. If he does not use his time means nothing.
Right. He spent a lot of time. So his first thought was on f5. Spent about 5 minutes here. I think he's out of book on this one, and okay, just plays thematic move. GF he had already decided on, and then he spent about 10 minutes on king f7, which I think is, we could have spent more time, but okay, at least it's something. Bishop a3, and now he's been thinking here for, seems like at least several minutes on how to continue next. Not sure about king f7 because this was a tempo, could have been used for knight g6.
Well, right, especially after the move b3, it's almost like a sign from the heavens to play knight g6. Because the knight needs to, well, the only reason to leave it on e5 is if you have dreams of some kind of, well, he might have dreams of the knight d3 thing that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Why don't we try that out for the dude? So rook d8, and just tell white that we're going to knight d3 him and have the beautiful unopposed dark squares. Oh, and a nice trick, I think, is on bishop b2, we play knight takes f3.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice trick because we're going to hit him d1 at the end.
Yeah, we might not even need bishop b2 for this. This thing is just a threat.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So rook d8 has... So let me play. I would assume bishop e2, right?
Yeah.
And then your magical move, knight d3. But this is the thing where you trade off enough pieces, and then all of a sudden the white king says, "Why am I such a terrible dude? Why do you make fun of me so much? Here I come."
Yeah. No. And then okay, starts looking somewhat better for white.
Yeah, it's okay for white.
Yeah.
The bishops always give compensation.
Right. But I think
okay.
Sometimes the compensation in this line is that like at some point you trade into an opposite color bishop endgame that you just kind of hold even if you're a pawn down. And that's not, it's not the most fun for everybody, and it's also not the easiest decision to go for as black. So
I'm glad that he's thinking here. And honestly, one of the pieces of advice, and we've talked a little bit about this on other games that Mitch himself played, is when you have the time advantage, that's when you really want to cook up something nice and toasty for your opponent to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Something nice and toasty. I'm beginning to think, though, that, yeah, it's going to be hard because bishop... Well, let me put it this way. It's like rook d8, it's hard to imagine rook d8 isn't the right move. Bishop e2, it's not easy for white to make a move. So if there's any way where we can improve this position, like let's try bishop h6.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now if king f... well, there's no king f2. I don't know about, yeah, even in king f2, we can play rook d3 because bishop c1 loses to knight d3. So bishop h6 would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I like this.
Bishop b2 though. No, not so easy.
How about knight d3 now?
All right, knight d3, snip, snop. We could imagine something like this happening.
Yeah.
Bishop c3. Yeah, Mitch really should be tanking here. He should be tanking really hardcore to find, to work this out. It seems like black is holding.
Yeah, it might be okay.
All right, let's go back. This is a really good position where that white.
Yeah, white can castle. Yeah.
Yeah, white can still castle. The grief with castling is that you're permanently giving up the d2 square, and while and rook d2 right away is just going to be like, oh my god, really hard to deal with. So one thing maybe
Oh, we got rook d8, bishop b2 on the board, and Mitch has played knight c6.
Okay, so we're hoping that Mitch had this worked out in advance here.
Yeah, he spent about a minute on knight c6, so that kind of gives me the impression he had this in mind, which is nice. Yeah, it shows improvement. Like, he expected bishop b2, and like, okay, this is the move that poses white some problems. And it does, absolutely. He wants knight d4, and how does white deal with this one?
And if bishop b2, there's rook d1, which probably is not a flat-out winning position, but it's certainly promising.
Yeah, among other options.
Among other options, right. And the other thing we should mention, in addition to all this other knight dance stuff, is that black at some point wants to dream about e5, e4.
Yeah.
And so moving the knight is good for that reason. Okay. So, right, what's great about it, it's very hard for white to figure out what to do here.
Mm-hmm. He's got 3 minutes. This is the problem. Like, position might be fine, but like, good luck. Like, how are you gonna? Oof.
And if bishop c1, knight b4 is annoying.
Knight b4 is a thing. Yeah. Knight c6 is really strong. I like it.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna play bishop c1. I feel like the d2 square is where my problems are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to give you the pro tip that knight b4, if I move the a pawn at all, let's say a3, then knight d3 is a different beast because the rook has more scope on the 6th.
Yeah.
It's a totally different beast.
Right.
And now black is much better because the rook stays. The rook isn't going anywhere, my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good.
There's also knight d4 there, which looks really annoying.
It looks powerful. Okay. Oh, Feldman, I feel for you, buddy. He's down to 2 minutes. Okay. But if you don't play bishop c1, what do you want? Man, oh man. All right, this looks insane, but maybe insanity is called for. How about, this really looks insane. I'm not sure about this. No, I don't like it.
I'm going to take it to the live board just because he's got like under 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
We'll just see the move as it happens. Wow, really tough position.
Oh, he's good. Now they do get, this is a 30, they got 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
This will be fun.
Yeah, king f2 definitely an option, but it allows rook d2, and then it's difficult.
There's no time control. I keep thinking there's going to be a time control. There's no time control, my friends. There's no time control. Oh, man. Oh, he's down to 42 seconds. I don't know what to do for him. I don't see any obvious thing. I feel like if I ever allow the guy into d2, that's the end. Bishop b2 was played. Now, maybe this was cool because at least now, if rook d1, bishop b2, you have chances of holding that sad position.
Yeah, you don't flag there because there's like too many threats.
And you had a different move besides rook d1 that you like?
Well, I felt like black can also think about just taking on b2 and then like knight b4 or knight d4. Just also looks really active.
I think rook d1. Mitch is going to play rook d1. There he goes.
It is.
He did it.
Fast.
And kind of an interesting question is like, how bad is it for white? And my sense is it's actually really terrible. There are a lot of positions where you can get away with this, but the dark square grip that black has, in particular, like landing a knight on d4, and the sadness of the bishop on e2, the lack of open files for their rook, suggests to me it's already gone. Yeah, we get to play e5. We get to play, like, move the bishop somewhere, and then play knight d4 and e5. And no puedo. Yeah, you play bishop f6.
I think bishop f6. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think black is doing really well. Just like, I mean, the time situation makes it really just impossible for white. Like, I don't know how white holds this without a lot of luck. But yeah, I like e5, e4, knight coming into d4, knight b4. But
and Mitchell, the time, yeah.
I mean, not easy for Mitch. I mean, this is not like easy endgame.
Or I don't know. I would say, like you said, there's just one question left. That was a response to me saying something like there's still a lot of questions. I feel like there's only about one left.
That was the blazing game. I think he's done. I think he's done taking the test. I think it's
Oh no, okay, now look.
Whoa.
Black just blew it. Black blew it. He taking on e2, and he did it instantly.
Yeah.
Mitch, you're going to be watching this later, and whether you win this game or not, I'm going to tell you, taking on e2 was a terrible move, as in terrible. One cool thing that it took me forever to understand, actually, is that when you're thinking about the rook versus the two pieces, you could say, or rather you could say it this way: as the game opens, the game goes on, as more pieces are traded off, the rook gets stronger. Right? That is very much, imagine all those positions everybody knows from the opening, where you sacrifice a rook for two pieces, and the pieces just win every time. Mm-hmm. They're too powerful at the beginning of the game, where the rooks aren't doing that much. But here, after you took on e2, things just got really spicy, my friend. They got really spicy, and now there's no way that white is lost. He might be worse, but he's not lost.
Yeah, I think it just got really tough for black. I still think black is much better. I think Mitch might be thinking of, so we had a lesson a little while back, and we looked at one of his games where basically I'll put it on the analysis board, like so where's the live position? We got knight c6.
I'm so sad that he played that knight e2 so quickly too.
Well, we were looking at a position. I don't know if this is what affected him, but so this is what we got on the live boards. Here he played knight d4 and just took on e2. We were looking at a position where he was up a pawn, maybe two pawns,
Mm-hmm.
His opponent basically has no counterplay, but he has like queen on b3, bishop on c4, hitting f7. He's got like a rook on f8. He's castled. He's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And in that position, he can just go knight a5, snap off the bishop, and it's like a Rui where black has two bishops. Light square bishop is like a monster. But then he didn't do it. He just left the pressure and then did something else. And then in the lesson, I was like, yeah, you got to take this bishop immediately, you know, knight a5. So I have a feeling he like had that in his mind. But here it's a different story. Knight on d4 is a monster. I mean, and bishop on e2 is really bad.
And well, it's interesting. I think let's take this analysis, but I'll take it especially because Mitch is going to watch this later, and so we could save this as a lesson or whatever you want to call it. That was like a key mistake. It really sad because he played a great game up until this moment, and so I'm going to say that here, if you play e5, the game is completely over. As in game over, nothing more is happening. The rook on d1 is terrible. The bishop on e2 is terrible. Everything is terrible. Absolutely everything. Now, when we take, Kostya thinks that you're still, from the tone of his voice, it sounds like he's saying that he still thinks black is clearly better.
Yeah, I think black wins this. Yeah, I think black wins.
Let's play. Let's play, Kostya. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I don't think you're not going to take me out here, buddy.
Well,
you're not going to take me out. Not in this one. No, I'm going to fight on this one, man. No, I'm not going to lose this.
I'm not promising that. I'm just saying, like, I think black wins in this situation. Like, two bishops.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go king e7.
All right. I'm going to play g4.
Okay, that's fine. I take.
Just to narrate this, I want to open the position. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I'll go.
And I want passed pawns on both sides.
I'll go e5.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, e4. Okay, I'll go here.
What? Just tell me. What are you threatening? Just tell me, buddy. What do you want?
I want bishop a6, of course.
Bishop a6. Okay. As it takes.
Okay, I'll throw this in.
I'm assuming I gotta go here. And are you just okay? I don't. It truly is a little tactical now.
Yeah, just take. Push.
Oh, I blew it. Dang, he got me. You did get me.
I had two bishops. Well, it's so strong, right?
I had two bishops. King g3 was terrible. Hold on. This was interesting still. You are making a claim though that I'm already kind of blowing it. I don't actually know. I still believe in this completely. So, but maybe I'm wrong. Huh. Okay, good. No, I think you did. I think, let me take it back here. G4, I was really, it was like the move of an angry man. G4 was the move of an angry man. I want to say this position closer to equal than people might initially think. Yeah, this one's closer to equal.
Well, yeah, I mean, objectively, I think you're probably
You
right.
you I did like what you did though by pushing the e pawn, and I underestimated it completely when you did it.
I don't know. I think like, yeah, I just think, I don't know. I feel like I'm closer to the ground at club level. Like I just know which positions like win, and like, which ones are. I don't know. I mean,
I liked your e5 move. I thought that was critical, and maybe I need to do. Yeah, let me try one more time. I know, I shouldn't be asking this much after I blew it. Let me try one more time. D4.
yeah, that's fine. So right, my idea was just e5.
Good.
Hey, thanks, Eka Deplane. Much appreciated. Thanks, Rozzy, for following.
So let's say a4. Do I know? I don't know. I don't know. Bubba Tuff is out there making fun of me somewhere. Maybe he should be about playing this on and all that. I don't know. I don't want to play a4. Come on, Cry. Just push your pawn, buddy. Push your pawns. Stop messing around.
All right, we.
You probably also push your pawn.
Yeah, I'd say e4.
All right, take.
Oh, but I think Jesse and I agree knight takes bishop was not a good move in this game. I think it's much easier for black without knight takes e2.
What we're arguing is to what extent black still has an advantage. And I'm trying to say that it's not at all, that I've studied a lot of these things and it's not clear to me at all that black even has anything special, that it's closer to equal.
Okay, I'll go bishop g5 here.
Oh yeah, I believe in my position. What do you got? You don't even have a threat. You don't got a threat.
I mean, I don't know. I want to bring my king to like e5, I guess. Maybe, yeah, maybe king e6, bishop d5.
All right, so maybe I have something fancy, but let me just play the simple way first.
Okay.
I'm just opening the lines.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll take. Go here.
You're a man of singular purpose, as you should be, as you should be. Okay, so let's talk about it. You want to hit me with e2 and then end all of my partying dreams. So let's go start our own business.
All right, we won. Yeah, mine time.
Good move. Dang, Coast, you're bringing it, buddy. You're bringing it. You're bringing it with these moves.
I'm sorry.
With your e-pawn. With
I
your
don't think
angry
this is
e-pawn.
revolutionary. I think 2 bishops and a pawn just promote. Like, 1 bishop takes 1 square and.
Ah, you're getting me. You're getting me pretty good here, Kostya. Okay. Well, I would love to do this all night. I really would. But let's go back to the game.
Right.
And yeah, we're gonna get some exciting stuff. So we got G3 on the board. See, we can keep it on the analysis board actually for a second. Let's promote that.
So
And
Bubba is saying he has studied a lot of these positions with computers. It sounds like Bubba has like run simulations, like rook versus 2 bishops.
right.
I kind of want to hear more about it. Like, what was this environment like?
I should say what I know. I don't know too much about what Sam does, but he has done a lot of work with chess and computers in the past. That's something I do know. So it's a serious thing. Right, he used to program his own chess game.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, what you did to me there, Kostya, that felt computer-esque, man. You're just coming around and around on me.
Yeah.
And let me just say, obviously, Mike is just, trying to hold it all together here with G3. And, I was immediately opening the position, and it might be harder for Mitch if he keeps everything kind of, he just closes the diagonals down instead of opening everything up. His last move, H5, I feel like Kostya, okay, so when G3, let me make sure we got these right here. So, excuse me, it went like this. So, King E3, E5, G3, H5.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to go ahead and say H5 is probably doesn't change much, but Kostya's move would have been E4. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get H5, but let's see, E4, I mean, yeah, if there's no reason not to play E4, then
right,
it just kind of feels right. But I'm wondering if he has some ideas of, like, what exactly does he want with H4 here? Or maybe he just doesn't want to rush it, like, he's just making some moves.
Right, and I think that's sort of thing where I feel like I wanted to immediately. The whole thing that's interesting is that when I go for my counterplay with B4 and C5 and yada yada, I'm actually opening up the diagonals of your bishop, right?
Yeah.
That was the terror that happens in our sparring matches here.
Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, from Black's point of view, I feel like because White, you do have this timer, like you have to make counterplay at some point. Black just kind of improves the position as much as they can and just gets the bishops ready for when things kind of open up. Like King E6 feels like a move Black can
right.
just play
King,
like very easily.
By all means. So and Kostya's evil intention there is at some point Bishop E7 to swing the bishop around.
You get me now. You get me.
And maybe the advantage of the way Fellman is doing it is to try to create a practical problem where you can't break me down on the light squares. So imagine if we wait for Black to play E4, then we play F4, and we never move our C4 pawn. At least that, I assume Black will be able to find a way through eventually, but that at least creates the blockade on the E2 square, right?
Yeah, kind of. So Dora asks if Black had taken EF and we had this structure, so E pawn is like on G6. Clearly, yeah, better version for White because Black doesn't make a pass pawn. That one, I feel like I still take Black, but yeah, winning chances become much slimmer.
Right.
But I've definitely been burned, like because the 2 bishops generally considered better than bishop and knight, and especially in endgames. But Against the rook specifically, the two bishops have this disadvantage where they can't attack the same square.
Right.
So in a lot of cases, I feel like we would prefer like bishop and knight if we have like an outpost. Yeah, I feel like if we trade this, like the dark square bishop for a knight, then do you just take black? Like, do you think black is just winning there?
If we exchange the dark square bishop for a knight?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I think it's equal completely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, the rook is an amazing piece. I got a pawn. Materially equal. No, but if it's a bishop, I feel like you showed, good understanding in how to take me down. I thought, honestly, we were going to go around and around. I was going to show you that I was at least holding the position.
Well, I mean, I think there are situations like, well, if all the pawns are on one side of the board, then yeah, we definitely want bishop and knight versus the rook. Compared to two bishops.
Yeah, but anything like this, the bishop and knight are terrible. My rook is going to swing on both sides. And actually, it was a Bishop who asked earlier about the rook exchange. If you were to give white a rook and black a rook, then black is always winning.
Yeah.
And the idea there is just the rook will be able to do things, and the white rooks will be doing too much of the same thing.
Oh, we got some changes. So we got...
Okay.
We had rook c1 from Mike, and then c5. So absolutely correct, I think, to do this. Kind of a nice plan, yeah.
And I'm not sure I approve. No, I don't approve of what Mitch did with h4 and hg.
Right.
Okay, wait. We got to go to the back gate for this one. This is getting interesting. All right. So we at least, even if we decide that Mitch's moves are terrible, we have to try to understand what he was up to. Right? Okay.
Yeah, I don't like hg. I don't understand what we got from that.
So h5 was already kind of weird. Right? Mm-hmm. Rook c1, h4, c5. Okay, so right, the disadvantage of c5 was what we said before, that you're opening up the light squares, the diagonal of a6, f1. But black has not served himself well with the last couple moves, and hg, to my mind, is just taking off another pawn from the board.
Yeah.
And if you want to win, you better keep your pawns. And then precisely, this is the kind of thing I was talking about, where I'm not sure, I don't know why black is winning. I have no idea why black is winning.
No, now I think it's super drawish because light square bishop is the wrong color for the a-pawn. So white can bail out.
If I'm playing somebody, I'm such a jerk. I would try to win this as white.
Oh, fine, but
I would, yeah, you know. Yeah.
I mean,
for example, right here, you better watch out for f4. You got to watch out for rook a5 stuff. Yeah. No, it's not gonna be so easy.
Well, I can go like e4.
Yeah. I think e4 is a reasonable question, but rook c7 wins the game, Kostya. I finally won one. I finally got him.
Always with the tactics. It's the only way Jesse can. Okay, king d6.
King d6 makes very logical. Yeah. Okay, so rook a5.
a6.
Yeah. And the question I have is, how about f4? King e6? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely possible.
But I want to trade pawns, right? I want to, I think. And I definitely, what I'm doing actually with f4, let's just be clear, is if you want your fancy e pawn, you have to give me the f pawn. That's the only way it happens now.
Yeah, f4 is definitely a nice resource.
King d6 is on the board, and Man, Mike Feldman, he's playing on nothing. He's playing on fumes, on clock fumes at this point.
Yeah. Rook a5, not the easiest move. Yeah, he just played rook c2. I don't think rook a5 makes sense without f4. So if this wasn't on his mind, then I can understand not going rook a5.
I don't understand. Rook a5. You're gaining a tempo. You're pinning the bishop, and
But black gets bishop d8 at the end, so it's like without f4, I feel like it kind of you just lose a lot of time.
Okay. Yes, maybe. Okay. Okay, I'll give you that. All right. So really, we're also just dealing with a simple practical problem that dude has no time.
Oh, absolutely.
And right here, I think he should finally, actually, at some point, he needs to institute the philosophy of Kostya and play e4. The dude needs to play e4, and now would be a great time. Now would just be a great time to play e4.
Yeah, no, thinking about Mitch's psyche, I think he's in like technical mode, and for a lot of players, technical chess means like, yeah, you improve, you push your rook pawns first, and then you go for the break. So we might see like a5 or something, and then.
And let me tell you something terrible here, Kostya. Let's say e4, right?
Yeah.
Which I think he should do.
Yeah, I think so.
Snip, snip. If I manage to sacrifice my rook for the pawn and the bishop, well, it's still, I guess, there's going to be positions where I draw that. But more interestingly, let's say I back up a square and then you play e3. If I sacrifice the rook, then then it's a complete draw because of this square.
Yeah. Right? No, that's why I think this is really drawish now, because I feel like it's very likely white should be able to do this.
And let's just say this all happened. Mitch, you're going to be watching this later because you traded off a pawn that we don't understand why you did it. If your pawn was still on the board, none of this would even be in the question. Right?
Yeah. Trading the h pawns just helps white. We got rook c2, bishop d8. And so he is... Alright, he's bringing the bishops in. I still think black has pretty decent chances just because of the time. I think it's going to be a big problem for white.
My student, by the way, he might be alive.
Eric.
It might not be, though. It might not be over. Yeah. All right. So...
What's going on with Eric?
Yeah,
okay, still going.
And I'm pretty certain that Blazin must have missed some stuff. Why don't we pull that? Let me pull that up in the magic room.
Yeah.
And we'll take a look here. So where we left it was like here, bishop d1, bishop e5, rook b1, snip, bishop b3. So interesting. What did we do here? On rook b1,
we were kind of assuming white goes g takes f7, I think.
Right. And rook b1 might be a better try. And it's certainly true that in this position, if I get you to play d5, then I'm more happy. Oh, the kids. Oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
King d1.
But here, there's a lot of things I don't understand. So this happens, and now I guess Blazin is worried about knight f5, but then plays rook f4. And like, if I get in that endgame with knight e2, black's better for sure, but it's still only a pawn.
Oh, that's weird then, because black could have just taken on g3 and got it like this.
Yeah, it's very weird.
But this one, I mean, this should be good for black. Maybe it's not the best he can get, but this should be pretty, like...
It should be over you.
So, yeah, a little unclear. Feels like white has to go knight e2. I can't imagine.
One reason that maybe Black could claim to be winning still, right? Because you just you could say to yourself, okay, maybe I'm not too happy with the way I did my life and all that other stuff. But in this position, by the way, maybe rook f1 is something white can play. That in this position, you can just make a simple claim that you're winning the race.
Yeah.
It might be true. It might be true. It's really a bummer that this king is so terrible.
Yeah, I feel like black is also just really active with rook d2 and always so many ideas like play a5, a4 and try to push d pawn.
Can I be annoying though? Let's imagine knight e2, rook e4, rook f1 check.
Yeah. I guess bishop f6.
Okay, knight g3. I can at least pretend to annoy you here, right, with knight h5 stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's again.
But it's just pretend, It's yeah.
Be annoying for a change, Jesse. Dang, it's rough. It's getting rough. So that should be winning. Let's go back to our featured matchup list.
Okay.
I'll get the PGN.
Yeah, we had b4, check, king e2. Now Mitch is thinking here.
Okay, so right, hg, snip, snip, c2, bishop d8, check to the miserable king, b4. Now, one obvious problem is that dude has refused to push his e-pawn, but I guess now would be the moment to at least look at bishop a6 followed by e4, right?
I mean, that seems like, yeah, very immediate.
So let's try it out. Bishop a6. I'm assuming. Well, I guess he could think about rook d5. But rook d5, king e6, or rook is like, what am I saying? He's rook d5. Sorry, it's been a long one. King e1. There's so many good moves here for black. One of them is bishop e4.
Yeah.
But e4 is the philosophy of Kostya, and that doesn't.
Well, no, I mean, bishop d4. Let's not count this out. It's pretty annoying.
I assume something like bishop d4. We got to squirm with king d1.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not a happy day. Yeah, this is the Bismuth. There's all kinds of stuff happening.
It's tough for white, but pawns are reduced.
Pawns are reduced, yeah. Okay, e4 was played. Pawn takes happened. Oh, he took with the bishop. Oh, he's not following the philosophy of Kostya.
Yeah, I mean, we never really talked about it, but yeah. What's this about?
Look at how much time dude has.
Well, I mean, he decided. He already decided with e4 how he was gonna.
Oh man. Oh, I might have to take a break after that. I might need a break after bishop takes e4. Oh, that's a really bad one. Okay, so now we have to. Does black even have anything anymore after bishop takes e4? All right, so yeah, with e4, f takes bishop e4. I don't know if he has anything anymore.
Okay, a4.
Yeah, let's play a4. That's probably going to happen. Yeah, a4 happens.
But bishop c7, I mean, king f2, white just holds this pawn. Even if he won the pawn, I mean, he gets a passed pawn. He already had that as an option. He could have played fe. Like, this g pawn is just totally inconsequential here. So yeah, bishop e4, I think just wrong strategically.
Yeah.
It's all about that passed pawn. 2 bishops. I guess my equation is 2 bishops, pass pawn, you win. No pass pawn, no win.
That's a pretty good one. Well, this time I was right, because I predicted that we were going to get something like this after he went into this ending, and it kind of did happen. Yeah.
Yeah, the technique definitely wasn't there for Mitch, but heck of a game. I mean, playing against master, you know.
That's right. This is part of Mitch playing up. Mitch playing up, and yeah, so far he's acquitted himself pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, great game. Like, he played well, and he can learn a lot from it. So, high value training game. Bishop d6. He's still trying. He is still.
Yeah, he's still trying. Bishop c7, king f2, bishop d6. He needs to now. I think the plan is to try to win one of the queenside pawns.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let me say this, Kostya. Clearly, the guy is disappointed, but maybe the dream isn't over, because the bishops, especially on a practical level, it's going to be the rook can be run out of squares in some positions, and maybe the black king can threaten to both come over to the queen side to steal some pawns and to win the G pawn. Yeah, dream's not over yet. El ajedrista isn't out of it.
Right. Yeah, definitely some chances for black. Especially, again, the time is just not, it's never easy. King can definitely swing over to g4 just to see what white wants to do there. But yeah, to me it feels very, very drawish right now. I don't know, I'd say maybe 60-40 black or something.
Yeah, it's... I mean, I would say if Mitch could slow down and like think about moves that present deep problems to his opponent, I mean, yeah, I like his position. Yeah, he should still win. The time is a big deal.
He's got to come up with some more questions.
there's only about one question left. Well, yeah, so right here, for example, both king e6 and king f6, those are questions. Those are questions. If I'm allowed to come over to g4, that's should be a difficult moment.
But white is playing b5, b6 very quickly, and
okay, here's the thing.
b5,
I think
a5. Yeah.
If you play b5, I can wiggle in with bishop c5, bishop d6 if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you want to play a5. This is why this move right here is something Mitch needs to think about. Because if he wants to create chances, it needs to be now. Like, there has to be some nice trickery. The rook really does have trouble getting run out of dodge. It really isn't easy.
Yeah, but now I think it just gets harder and harder for black to like squeeze anything out.
Oh, and now you're gonna make me take the black side? Not that I basically believe that white should hold in this position, but I think this is hard.
I just mean, like, you know, if earlier Mitch had like several clear opportunities to just like win the game, and now he has to like figure this out. It's just, yeah, trend's just not in black's favor here. Like, for example, let's say I play bishop e5.
Right. I think there's real questions about where that rook goes.
I'll take white side here. I'll take it for a spin.
Yeah, take it for a spin.
Go rook.
This was a couple of spots.
Shit. Yeah, this is let me try rook e2.
I just had a cool idea actually for you. So rook e2, and imagine if I go for it with king d6, G4, and yeah, there's potential again for sacking. If I get rid of the pawn, for sacking, and in fact, if you don't play king d6, I think I'm playing rook e4, fp, king e3, and I'm drawing that thing. No, what am I saying? No, what am I saying? No, wrong bishop. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Long knight. So king d6. What was I saying? I imagined a situation where I get the dark square bishop.
Right. Well, yeah, like bishop d3, rook e5 should be draw.
Exactly. Yeah. And if bishop d4, I think I'm just moving out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Mitch is thinking at least on this move, which is good, because it's, yeah, white. You don't want it to just something like this to happen, rook e2, and then all of a sudden you don't have any, there's no more drama. All right, let me try it again. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna play king e6.
So king e6
feels like that's where it should be. Like
that's
where the guy belongs.
Okay, let's try a5.
Good move. All right, I'll try bishop e5 again.
Okay, here maybe rook b3.
This is gonna get kind of hectic. Bishop c2.
Okay. Let me just play rook a3.
Bishop b2.
All right.
Second is working.
I don't know. Let's put this guy here. Should be 3. Rook a3. King f3.
Okay, so yeah. As long as you're not threatening anything,
It's true.
I think I just build it now. So right, the danger of a5, which is definitely something white should be thinking about, is then I might be able to get the blockade at some point with an a6, and then things aren't easy.
Actually, why didn't black play a6 on the last move?
Because I was worried about g4. Now maybe I shouldn't be, but that was my concern. And I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can do anything here either. So it's like, yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Okay, fair enough.
Mitch is thinking about it, yeah.
Still tough.
We got to go to Eric's game, buddy.
Yeah, big
Holy
transformation.
Moly.
Big transformation.
Holy moly. Let me grab that. I told you this guy's a genius. I've seen him pull off end games. Yeah, it's pretty. He's done some. In fact, you know, I have some students that never reach an end game. So when I tell them, hey, you know, you should study end games, they say, what are you talking about? I never get an end game. Eric gets an end game every single time.
But
every single time.
But isn't he still just busted here?
Well, all I know is that it's like he's got the same number of pawns now. That's all I really know. Let's look. I'm trying to pull this up on our magic board here, and I'm failing. Okay.
I just feel like black is just promoting by force.
Let me just see. Rook f4. Rook d1. Yeah, that was clever. Rook d1. Oh, and he stole the pawn. Check to the miserable king. Oh, and that's what we got. And so the knight is unfortunately very cut. And our king is unfortunately very cut. Okay, we got to play knight g3.
Seems like, yeah.
Let's try just pushing first, see what happens.
Yeah, b4.
4. Knight e2.
a4.
a4. And we might just be lost. Probably not really a might either. I got to go knight c1. You could just to, king e6 is the normal move, but just to show this position, it looks like we're just winning the knight and then saying the endgame's totally lost.
Right. No, I think Blazin played this one really well. I'm going to go back to rook d1 because he didn't have to give the d pawn, right? He could play like e5 or something.
Well, then he was worried about knight e2.
Yeah, but he just allows a simplification. Because I think this is really good for black. Like I think this outside a pawn is just killer. And rook and bishop both stronger.
Yeah, okay. I was just so happy to see the kid just have some pawns, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, the knight is terribly cut. It's the worst possible endgame you could imagine. And of course his king is much worse too. Yeah. No chance. No chance.
All right, let's check in with our Squire games.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right, we had Chaxis here playing against Drew Tuck. Wow, we got a lot of updates in this one. We last saw this one around here. Oh, and Jesse called the move c4, so nice job, Jesse. Or maybe nice job, Charlie, finding c4. Knight b6 was played. Definitely not the only move for black. d5, queen e4. I don't know. He trades everything off and he starts taking all these pawns, but I'm not so sure about this because I feel like White's king was in a lot of danger. So this is the live position. We'll probably come back to this one, where black is still better, but opposite color bishops give White a lot of chances, I think, to hold this one. Like if he just wins this c pawn, some knight d3 or something, I think he's gonna be okay. Yeah, I feel like Drew kind of messed this one up because I think this position really iffy for White. Like this light square bishop just feels like such a strong piece. Like a6 or something, threatening knight d5 comes to mind. Queen e4 I understand, but I feel like he's giving up some advantage. Right, yeah, knight b6 is already kind of the start of maybe... Yeah, setting up queen e4. I like Jesse's knight f6, and then here either knight e4, I think b5 is an option. a6 again, threatening knight takes d5, seems good. So, okay. Well, we got this endgame on the board. Knight e5, bishop b5. Still feels like black is under control. I don't think this d-pawn's going anywhere, but probably could have had bigger edge earlier. White is down on time, though, so black's chances here are definitely good. And then we got Argos against Tension Mask. This was the Scandi that went into this two bishops endgame. This one was really interesting, actually. So White did take on c5. We last left off bishop g7. White took on c5, rook d2. Rook fe1 played, knight c6. Bishop g4 takes. Rook c1 takes. Rook e2, rook d8, a3, and knight d4, bishop c4, a6, a4, bishop c7. This is the live position. So White has kept the extra pawn And yeah, black doesn't have a ton here to show for it. I think bishop on c4 is nice. Only thing going for black is that the material has been really reduced, and so there's always chances like to simplify and make a draw, but objectively white is very much in good shape here. Can even take if he wants, but I don't think that's necessary. b5 might be an idea for black, just that white has to keep in mind hitting the bishop, hitting the b pawn, but maybe white can... Oh, he just goes g3. Alright, fair enough. Setting up king g2. But on b5, what does he want here? Take. Maybe he's just going to take on d4. Rook d4, take on b5. Couldn't have black on b5 on the previous move. Yes. Maybe, again, there's bishop takes d4. And then white just takes the 2 pawns up. So I guess this just doesn't work for black. So now, white doing well. Yeah.
I was going to take the devil's advocate position in that one. What about bishop? Okay, so what was it? b5?
Yeah. And we take.
Bishop d4, right? Rook d4.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop b5, and then either rook d2 or bishop b6. I'm not sure which one.
Right.
Let's say rook d2. Yeah, no, definitely actually rook d2. Because bishop b6, and there's rook c2.
Yeah. Well, let's say white goes like rook e1 and rook e2.
Right. All I know is in these positions, it can be kind of tricky to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, yeah, white's, you either have to say white's clearly better or winning.
Right, right.
Yeah, I don't know which one.
Yeah, Neil, black could have played knight takes b5, but then wasn't really the idea behind b5. The idea was to kind of mess with white's coordination. Here, I think white just keeps just healthy extra pawn. Mitch's game, yeah, still going. We'll come back to that one. It's been mostly Mitch thinking about his moves, which is good. But not a ton of update there. Valuation still pretty much the same. Knight f3 check was played in this one. King g2, knight d2, bishop e3, and then this is the live position. So it feels like, okay, white is just healthy pawn up. And I think has really good chances, especially like this 3 versus 2 on the king side with white's king on g2. It kind of feels like, a reverse position where white has his king on the queen side, and like it can be really useful. I feel like white is like takes, then we go h4, h5, and just immediately pose problems on the king side. I think black's play here is a lot slower.
So Kostya, now we got a mellow moment here.
Yeah.
We got things to talk about. Man, we've had 3 hours of drama. We got some things. So we got to go over that win war game at least briefly.
Man. Yeah. Do you have it? You want to pull it up?
I can get it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, and I guess there was 2 actually, because Quirk got inspired, and that was his game with Mitch. But the main event was Todd playing Bubba. And right, let me take that into the analysis board. And as I said about 3 hours ago, Bubba really impressed me with his knowledge of this position. And I didn't believe it at first. Now, by the way, I want to say, so with this Queen D1 move that Todd played, and I'm sure he did like deep computer analysis, but my sense was that White should just give it away with like Knight F3 and carry on.
Uh-huh.
That was my sense, yeah. Or I think you could maybe also play Bishop D3, but that seemed better to me than this Queen D1 business, especially on a practical level, because now Bubba gets to play his structure, which I don't think the computer, and like the C4 move on move 12, this is like Bubba's specialty.
Right.
And when I saw this thing, Kosi, I don't know what your first reaction is, but when I saw it, I was just like, no, you can't do this. But it's this dark, it's this very dark, unfrenched thing where you're saying, my bishop on C8, yes, I just murdered it, and it looks like I just gave you all the dark squares, but the pawn chain from F7 to C4 is amazing. Amazing. And it's very hard to break through, very hard to do anything. And so, like, this was the kind of position that I tried to crack Bubba in just some practice games that we did. And I was just getting murdered. And especially if Black has a calm spirit about it. And what I mean by that is just like, if he just believes in his position and says, I can outmaneuver you, doing all kinds of Knight D7s to C5s and whatever, then that's where it's going to be. White's going to find it really hard to break through. If Black jerks, and by that I mean if he like tries to loosen the position, then it's a different deal. But that's what I mean by opening understanding. Is that it's once Black understands the position, it's very hard for White to do anything. And H4, sure, that's a standard move. Watch this. Look at Bubba's King G8, very calm. Thank you very much. And we had this exact structure in our little analysis sessions. And G4 right, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, man. We looked at exactly this kind of thing, and now Black has that F5 square.
So this was a moment where Todd actually deviated from his prep. So in their file, they do have a lot of lines. So G4 very much in book.
Right.
Queen takes A3. I think the main move they looked at is like King H7.
Okay.
And there White has some nastiness with like G5 and sacking the bishop on H6. Like that can get kind of hairy.
Now when you say they, are we talking about him and Mitch?
Yeah, Todd and Mitch, they prep together.
All right.
Queen A3, their line says bishop G2 and castle kingside. So this is Leela 0 talking, you know, and Leela says White has comp here.
Okay. Now I just want to say too, like Queen A3. Let's talk about Queen A3. That is the move of a man. The move of a man who's like completely convinced that Black has no problems.
Yep.
Just no problems, right? Queen A3. That's like, and right. Where I think it's a really advantageous as an opening. Any opening is if you can get a position that is weird, like this one is, and you understand it. Well, then you're just on cloud 9. Like here, when I see it and I see that bishop on C8, of course I believe in White. You know, of course I believe in White. And then it's only through the studying with Bubba that I'm like, oh no, the one isn't easy.
But I also feel like not everyone can really play this way with Black. I mean, it's one thing to understand that maybe Black is like better, Black has good practical chances, but not the healthiest position to play.
Well, right. You'd have to know. You don't want to do it unless you understand it, right? And look at these calm moves. They're so calm. Just like I can do whatever I want to. I can do whatever I want. There's no problem ever in my life. Thank you very much for playing. Black's, I guess, already winning.
At this point, it looked really good. Yeah, I think David was around here, and I don't think we found anything for White.
Stunning, right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting how it feels like Black did it effortlessly. Now, Costa, I don't know if you ever watch soccer, but there's a kind of thing that happens when you watch really good defenders where like some attackers breathing down your neck, and the instinct of everybody is just to kick the ball out of bounds, but a good defender will like control the ball and slowly push it, into his own possession. And that's what Black is doing this whole game, man. We're just saying, no, you're not touching me. You're not touching me at all. And notice too that even though the bishop on c8 is so terrible, look at White's stupid f1 bishop.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything. And it's because of the monster pawn chain.
Well, you kind of see this in like the Stonewall, right? Like they used to think that that was just unplayable, and then it's kind of like, well, White's bishop isn't really that great either, so it's kind of is playable.
Wow, man! I called this one because and I'm going to say, I called it with Bubba winning all of these positions again and again. When I found out that he was playing Todd, I realized that they were going to look at it with the computer, and that made me really nervous. It did. But this happened exactly as you might expect it, where the computer is not going to help you if you don't have a sense of, a deep sense of what's going on. And yeah, really amazing.
Yeah. Okay, I think Mitch's game is close to ending. We've got some changes. Pawns have been traded. White got b5 and b6.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like Black didn't have to allow this, but we'll just go to the live position. Bishop b7, b6. He takes. And
Black still has chances to do this. Does he? I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, if he wins both pawns, I think that's a win. But I don't think he wins the g-pawn here. I think usually White is able to hold it. Okay, he's definitely taking the b-pawn, so of course he's the only one that can win at this point. Yeah, but he's had 47 seconds on the clock for like an hour and a half now. So,
that's right.
I think at this point, White has like the easiest position he's had all game.
Yeah, let's give it to Feldman. He played this pretty well, man. Just holding on, not falling for some dirty trick.
Yeah, really solid defense. I think Mitch might have been a little bit over optimistic when he got Rook d1, Bishop b2. I think he maybe thought he's just like easy winning there, just clean it up. But definitely not so simple. Yeah, definitely Black should play on here. White can lose this for sure, but this is hard to imagine because like for Black to win, this bishop needs to be on the diagonal. King will have to be on g4 to try to take this pawn, and somehow you're gonna have to like keep White's king away.
Well, for example, I'm not sure about King e1 because now Bishop a6
could have cut him off a bit.
So that was a big deal. King f2. I think that was a big improvement for White. And Bishop c7 was played too quickly.
Yeah.
Right. Because you just gotta start moving the bishops closer to the pawn, and try to run the White rook out of squares. You have totally practical chances. Bishop c7 was a groaner. I think that was a groaner.
I mean, maybe White plays like Rook a3 or Rook f3 at some point, and Bishop has to go back. But Neil brings up a good question: could Black have taken, or could White have taken on b6? It's really close, actually.
It's close, yeah.
Bishop gets here on g4, it's lost, but I don't think Bishop gets there. Oh no, Bishop c8, right?
Bishop c8, yeah, game over, yeah.
So no draw. Sorry, no draw. This is good too. Okay, now we got this with king f3 on the board.
The Napoleon group. Yeah, really amazing. So, one thing that I discovered with recently that I thought was a really deep insight, Kostya, is that there's two kinds of French players. Now everybody knew for ages that there's like the winnower and the classical, the Steinitz. But what's interesting is that the people who play the winnower are the same people who play c4 against the advanced French, who commit to not fighting for the center. And the people who play knight f6 will always, keep that pawn on c5. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Maybe I should explain just so people know what I'm saying. So get over here. Like the people who play the winnower will when you look at this classical position, let's say here, the winnower people will play c4 here, which to me is heretical. And I bring it up because it's kind of like what Bubba has been doing with his amazing pawn structure. Like there's a belief in this pawn structure which is just like otherworldly to me. People, it's a different level of, and the winnower itself is, of course, a very weird opening. It's a very weird dynamic thing.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Quirked confirms he plays this against the advance. I tried this a couple times, but I didn't like it. Yeah, I've always been a card-carrying member of the knight f6, the purists.
Right.
Yeah, I felt like the dark-squared bishop, I mean, that's how black wins in the French, is by keeping this bishop and opening it up at the later stage.
Well, I like what Feldman's done. He's brought his king to h3, where it can't be messed with nearly as much. And unless he blunders the rook, which is possible to do.
It's always possible, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kostya, what's been going on in Chess Dojo land? We didn't even talk. We didn't get our weekly update.
I know. Yeah, the games today have been just nonstop. Let's see. So we had some commentary yesterday. We had the French brawl today. So 1 week from today, next Sunday morning, I'll be doing another opening lab for supporters of our Patreon page. So cool. Folks that are at like the $15 tier, they can answer question or throw in questions to be answered in the show. And the show will be open for everybody, but the questions will be determined in advance. And then on Saturday, we might be doing something with the St. Louis Chess Club, negotiating some kind of streamer battle right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that'll be fun. But I'm not sure what the format is on that just yet.
Yeah, I'm doing a camp for St. Louis this coming week. So a lot of their kids, I'm teaching them all week this time around. But I imagine the streamer battle would be more like the guys who are doing like a lot of the video content at the St. Louis Chess Club. Those are the people who would be battling, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but it's this guy, I think Jonathan over there.
Yeah,
Vampire
Jonathan,
Chicken.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know his name was Vampire Chicken, but I know Jonathan well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has his own channel as well, Vampire Chicken on Twitch. In addition to doing stuff for St. Louis.
Right.
Yeah, no, this one's gonna be on chess.com. But yeah, they usually do a lot of stuff on Lichess. And yeah. Vishnu's asking about the next Warrior round robin. I'm not sure. It took a while just to get the current crop going. So we don't have too many players right now in like the Warrior group interested in playing. But well, ladder's starting soon, and yeah, I'm sure there'll be interest within like a couple of weeks. So I don't think we'll have to wait too long.
Vishnu, did you miss it because of your job thing that you were doing, buddy? Is that what happened? Did your job get in the way of chess? The potential job, did it get in the way of chess? And tell us how it went, buddy. What's your life situation? I want to know about the job and what's going on. You talked about maybe moving back to India or something too. I wanted to hear about that if you're going to move away. My own news is we've been looking to move away from Baltimore, maybe somewhere close. But anyways, we're like house hunting, place hunting. We are place hunting close, and I want to go back to the West Coast, but I'm being vetoed on the West Coast. I've been dreaming about Corvallis, Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon's nice.
Yeah.
What was the city called?
Corvallis.
Oh, Corvallis.
It's where the University of Oregon is.
Yeah. And what attracts you to that place?
Beautiful, cheap. Schools are great for the kids. Simple, and weather is, if you say the East Coast weather is frankly unnecessary. Today, Kostya, was well over 100 degrees in terms of at least how it felt, man. It was brutal, totally evil.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Oregon. I'm definitely like, yeah, that seems like a settle down place for a lot of Californians.
They probably hate the Californians, but yeah.
Yeah, we're like monsters to them. Yeah, also a lot of
Oregon
great
would
like
also be amazing. Yeah.
great city names in Oregon, like Bend, Oregon. I'm a big fan of the town Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
Great name. Yeah, this is the ending position of the game with Eric and Blazin. He converted the knight versus bishop.
Neil says, sorry to bring up chess, but A2 looks good. Mitch is moving to St. Louis, by the way, or at least outskirts of St. Louis.
That's right.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. Let's see here. Chaxis, ooh, he's in trouble. He is down on time, and position doesn't look great.
Yeah, that's over.
And then we got Tension Mask. He's still trying to convert, so this game is like... This has been really well-paced game, actually. I mean, we always give people trouble for not moving, or for moving too quickly, but today's been like really like normal pace. Like,
yeah.
So I'm proud of these guys.
Well, Kostya, it's dark 30. That's not dark 30. It's late for me here.
Yeah, we'll be signing off, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with some more streams. Actually, we'll be back with Norm Hunter. Maybe I'll talk to Todd about the game.
Yeah. And I'll be, what do I got? I'll be doing Title Tuesday on Tuesday.
Nice.
And, this is an important thing. I'm going to be doing the game, it's that time of the month that I'm going to be doing the game review stuff. And Vishnu finally put in his game. We've been doing this for years, and Vishnu's been doing it for years, and he missed last month, but he's in for this next one. So, yeah, if you want to me to look at your game, there's a place on chess.com. If you go to the forums and you just Google me and say game review or something, you're going to find it. And that's going to be Wednesday from 4 to 7 Eastern, 1 to 4. Does that sound right? 1 to 4 Pacific.
Oh, very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Neil asks, why does Mitch always move so fast? I think he's gotten a lot better, actually. I think he just didn't know any better. He didn't realize, like, there's, like, stuff to think about on, like, almost every position. There's always details or nuances. No, he's improved heavily in the time usage department. Yeah, really, really heavily. But and cool, guys.
He still has practical chances, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Not over.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to give a shout, raid Josh Riddell when you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to raid him. We're going to raid him right now.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.